slow burn. I mean, how many hints has this guy given?
How many former teammates do you have to call and put on Instagram and say the team doesn't want me in order to actually get to a official, legitimate trade request? But Here we are. You got veterans who are going to be reporting next week, Perloff. It feels like, the 49ers have been down this road before. They just did this with Nick Bosa. They just did this with Debo Samuel. Feels like the vibe is a little bit different, though, this close to training camp. Yeah,
I heard they did. Robbie Gould, the kicker, and them had a very vicious battle over a contract in the same situation where he said, get me out of here because he didn't want to do the franchise tag. So for some reason, Niners players feel empowered to do this.
Well, maybe they see teammates keep getting, it's working. It worked for Debo. It worked for Nick Bosa.
Yeah, but the thing about Aiyuk is I don't know if it's going to work because this has been around, right? We've been talking about Aiyuk being unhappy since around the draft, even before the draft.
Basically, right after the Super Bowl.
The price tag has gone bananas since we started talking about Brandon. Yeah, right after the Super Bowl. He started saying things on Instagram or wherever. Like, now it's so expensive. If they couldn't get it done in February, then you got all these crazy contracts like Amon-Ra St. Brown and obviously Justin Jefferson. If they were going to do $25 million, it's what you and I think thought in February. How are they going to do $33 million or whatever he's going to want now?
I don't know. I mean, this is always what happens. You have to question, do they actually want him long term? And I don't think the 49ers actually do. I think they want to get maybe this last season out of Brandon Aiyuk. I don't know if this is right, by the way, and I would actually say I think this is the wrong tact for the 49ers to be taking. I think Aiyuk is a huge piece to what they're doing, and just to say, oh, he's just another offensive weapon, I don't think that's true. I do think that he fills this role, and you do have Ricky Pearsall, who they drafted in the first round this year, but did you see the news yesterday that Ricky Pearsall, because rookies reported yesterday in the Bay, a non-football injury. He's on the NFI list, so he was hurt away from the facility. They're saying it's not serious, but again, you were going to be asking a rookie in theory to be stepping into a really big role if he's replacing Aiyuk if you do trade him. Now he's maybe starting the offseason training camp stuff behind the 8 ball.
I kind of disagree with you. I do think they want him long term, but they want him at their price point. You don't think they want, if they
that
could
might
get
be
him
delusional.
If they could get him, I'm going to throw out a number, 3 years at $25 million per year, I think they definitely want that
They
deal.
offered him 26 and he turned it down. Reportedly.
Right. Oh, okay.
So that's not going to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, they want him at that. I don't think they want to pay him 35 because they got to pay Purdy next year. So they obviously, no mystery. They drafted Ricky Pearsall at 31. We all knew what that meant. That meant that, hey, we're holding this over you, Brandon Aiyuk. You're not going to hold us hostage. And Debo is going to be gone after this year or next year. So at a certain point, they're going to have to rebuild. Why do you think you don't think they can survive without Aiyuk? If any team didn't need Aiyuk, this is the team.
I think that's a fallacy. Like, I don't think that's actually true. I heard Dan Orlovsky talking about this because they really don't have that guy who takes the top off the defense. And they also don't have somebody who, like, I think one of the underrated things about Aiyuk is apparently he's this incredible blocker. And he's this great blocker on the perimeter, which is important for Kyle Shanahan and his scheme. I do think there is more, I would say, nuance to it. I do think that he fills this role. And if you have a team that's ready to win right now, and not just ready, I mean, gosh, we talked about this yesterday, the pressure on the 49ers. I can't imagine a team who has more pressure on them to win the Super Bowl than Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. Do you really want to go into that fight with a rookie? Ricky Pearsall to fill that Aiyuk spot.
They clearly, they want him this year, but you think they need him they need him this year, but they don't need him long term. Like, if there's any team that can withstand losing a Brandon Aiyuk over the 5 years, they are the team. Yeah, I mean, because they have Kyle Shanahan as their coach. He turns everybody into a star. They have they just drafted a receiver. They do sub the end of Kittle and Debo. Like, I don't know. They're the number one offense in the league. They're the best offense in the league. Does it really taking one player off them, ding them that significantly? Because they have to pay everybody at some point. You can't pay both defense and offense like crazy all for the next 5 years. You have to make some choices, Maggie.
I totally understand. But here's what I kind of like about having Aiyuk, right? If you just have Ricky Pearsall, the young guy, and then you have these guys who are getting a little bit longer in the tooth in terms of like Kittle and Debo and guys who are just a little bit further along and a little bit older, it's like you've got no middle. You know, I kind of like the fact that Aiyuk is like 26, right here in the prime. And here's what I don't understand about the 49ers. If they are really unwilling to budge here and really just want to play this season out, the last year of the contract, which they might like, you get a very motivated player. Not that Aiyuk's not motivated, but you got somebody legitimately in a contract year. What I would do, Like, why can't there be a thing where you can fudge a little with the guaranteed money versus the total thing? Like, you saw Justin Jefferson, his contract, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, their contracts that they both signed this offseason may look similar on paper. I think one got 135 total and Amon-Ra St. Brown got 120. But the guaranteed money is so wildly different. Justin Jefferson got over $80 million guaranteed. Amon-Ra St. Brown got like $34 million guaranteed. There's creative ways here to get this contract done where it looks big, egos are satisfied and satiated, and then you fudge around with the guaranteed money and get to a point where the guy feels whole. I don't think he would be silly enough, not silly, but I don't think he's out there asking for Justin Jefferson's contract. Oh, by the way, go top it. I doubt Brandon Aiyuk's agency is doing that.
But he's definitely asking for a top 3 or 4, right? I mean, he wants to be one of the top 3 to 5 receivers paid in the game, and he's not one of the top 3 to 5 receivers. Like, you say he doesn't want Justin Jefferson money. You don't think he wants to be right behind Justin Jefferson?
Well, right now, if they offered him 26 and Justin Jefferson's making 35, there's a lot of room there, right? That's like a nice little window. You have the ceiling, you have the floor, and now try to get something done.
Well, they might, by the way. But
that's true.
I do think, I just don't think he's that good a receiver. I think he's top 15 receivers. He's definitely not a top 5 receiver. Just look at, I'm sorry, like, a lot of this is Kyle Shanahan. Like, he could have gone to another team and just been a guy to some extent.
Or he could have been CeeDee Lamb if he goes to another team.
Does he look like CeeDee Lamb to you?
No, but I'm just saying he's in a place where, he has, 100 targets for 75 catches and a little bit over 1,000 yards. But that's because the ball has to go to so many different places. If he's a more focal point of the offense, those numbers could look a little more gaudy. So I don't know if he can just go on the numbers.
Like, you see CeeDee Lamb, he's
I'm
gigantic and fat. Like,
in terms of his importance to the offense.
Well, you're right. But in terms of talent, he's not CeeDee Lamb. So they're not going to – you don't want to pay him as much as the Cowboys have to pay CeeDee Lamb. You don't want to pay him what the Dolphins are paying Tyreek Hill. You definitely don't want to pay him what the Vikings are paying Justin Jefferson. He's a couple of – like what the Bengals are going to have to pay Chase. Those are those guys. Those should be the $30 million guys. And then there's got to be a next level. It's like there's no mid-level for quarterback.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden there's no mid-level for wide receiver. So I don't think they want to jam up that much cap space on Brandon Aiyuk.
I think they would miss him, though. Like, I do think so. 855-212-4227. The other part of this, too, is if you're the 49ers, don't you have to take a little – like, you have the leverage here, obviously. Yeah. But don't you also have to take a little responsibility because – why wouldn't Brandon Aiyuk think he could get a contract? Again, he just saw Nick Bosa do this. He saw Debo Samuel do it.
Better
Debo
players.
Samuel, what's that?
They're both better players.
Okay, but held in, right?
Yeah.
And basically made a thing about it, and ended up getting a contract. So,
but those like Debo, yes, but Nick Bosa, like, why are we? There's no reason to talk about them as the same. Nick Bosa is the number one defensive end in the entire NFL.
Think how long that negotiation went on. That should have never gone on that long.
Aiyuk isn't 1/3 as important as Nick Bosa because this is this is Kyle Shanahan's offense. He can bring in pieces. We all know that. Aiyuk, and as I keep saying, wide receiver is quite generic. They just drafted one in the first round this year. Like, they're not terrified of life without Aiyuk. There's no life without Bosa is. There's nothing there. He's the one special piece on that defense, like Micah Parsons is with Dallas. Life without Aiyuk, they'll be fine. Maybe I'm underestimating him. Like, you think they're going to drop off tremendously next year if Brandon Ayuk's out there? By the way, they can tag him anyway.
They could do that.
But yeah, like
I add more agita to your life because clearly he's willing to make it messy.
I'm not going to downgrade the Niners that much without Aiyuk. If he leaves,
let's be honest, they probably don't make the comeback in the NFC Championship game without him. And I'm not saying
that one catch.
Well, that was really the turning point in the game. And I'm not just saying you pay a guy because of one catch. Obviously, David Tyree would have been a gajillionaire if you were just paying somebody off of one catch. But you have to acknowledge that if you do lose him, you're going to have to make up for those snaps. Pine Needles in the chat saying Pearsall strictly slot receiver brought on to relieve McCaffrey's snaps. No outside for him. Ayuk's doing the exact same program today the last 3 Niners free agents did. He'll be playing as a 49er.
Yeah, but look at, like, for example, I just pulled up he didn't really have an impact in the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year. 3 catches, 49 yards. Yeah. It's the Niners. They move the ball all over that place. Debo seems to be a little different because when Debo was out, all of a sudden they couldn't get a first down. They missed that toughness. Yeah, I just think that even if they could get another receiver in the second round next year, it just feels like you got Shanahan, you're going to pay Purdy. Like, there's so much going on in that offense. Like, do they really, really need Brandon Aiyuk? Is he CeeDee Lamb of the Cowboys? Is he Tyreek Hill of the Dolphins? Absolutely not. His skill set is not irreplaceable. I like Brandon Aiyuk, and I would keep him. But you notice, like, the Commanders, right, or the trade, nobody's offering a high first-round pick for Brandon Aiyuk. That's just not out there. You know that they how many times have we heard a trade buzz about him? Nobody's offering. The Patriots are not offering a first-round pick for him. They're offering a second-round pick. So he's not that valuable. He's just not like a Calvin Johnson type at all.
Well, sure, but that's a Hall of Famer. I mean,
right. But he's not elite.
But you are. There's a little bit more. See, I think there's like a little bit more to the Aiyuk thing. You can't just go by the numbers because he does have to split the ball with so many different offensive weapons. And then I think the other part too is you can't just look at the trade compensation because there's a contract on the back end of it. Right. So if he was actually under contract, or you could just get Brandon Aiyuk just based on skill and talent alone, and it didn't also come with this big question mark of the contract, I think he would merit a first round pick.
Well, I mean, okay, the two wide receivers in a similar situation. Tyreek Hill with the Chiefs and Davante Adams with the Packers went to the Raiders. Like, those guys are different league than Brandon. They're a tier up from Brandon Aiyuk. You'll admit at least those guys are.
Yeah, definitely.
And they got like the 22nd pick. Like, so if you probably could get a second rounder for Aiyuk, then what's the point for the Niners, right?
Well, that's why I don't think they're going to do it. Yeah. I don't. But here's another part. I was thinking about this morning and how this might resolve itself with Brandon Aiyuk. And you could welcome to weigh in. Is he necessary for the Niners to win a Super Bowl at 855-212-4227? I was thinking about this. Remember, we just saw this last year with Chris Jones. Very different for the Chiefs, but he held out that first game. Showed up to the Chiefs opener against the Lions in street clothes.
That was awesome.
What happened? Lions won that game. They ended up just adding a few incentives to his contract. It wasn't even anything mind-blowing, and it got Chris Jones back on the field.
Yes.
Why not do something like that with Brandon Aiyuk? Make it incentive-laden. Yeah. Give him a little something so that everyone – this is a negotiation, right? 101. Both sides want to feel good. Right now, it feels like the vibes are off because Aiyuk keeps going to social media. He's playing every card he possibly can to try to move their hand, and it's not working so far. So why not do a little something? Break the guy off a little something so that everyone can be just feeling a little better about this whole thing. It worked for Chris Jones, and then he eventually got a big contract.
Well, Chris Jones, first of all, is a goofball. I don't know what he was doing at that game, but I think you're being naive what Aiyuk wants. I think he wants $32 million a year. Like, at a certain point, the Niners cannot pay. I mean, how much are they going to pay Purdy next year?
I'm just saying to get through the season, just to get the guy in camp, just like what the Chiefs did with Chris Jones.
I totally misunderstood. I thought you were talking a long-term plan.
No,
just to
this
keep
is
him
the
happy.
Short-term plan.
I say screw him. He's on a contract. He's getting $14 million, right, or something, or like, I don't know. He's not Dabo. When Dabo gets mad, that probably affects the whole building. Like Brandon Aiyuk, I don't think they're scared of him being a malcontent. Does he strike you? I don't know anything about his personality. We just watched a receiver documentary, and they had George Kittle and Debo Samuel. I don't think Brandon Aiyuk said 3 words the entire time.
Of course, though, Debo and Aiyuk are happy. Debo and Kittle are happy. Yeah. They already got paid.
Well, not only that, like, Brandon Aiyuk, can you get a word in edgewise when you have George Kittle and Debo Samuel in that locker room? I just don't think that they're worried about him being a malcontent. I understand what you're saying, a little bonus. Maybe they could do it. I think they want to sign him long-term to $25 million a year, like a reasonable contract. Probably not going to happen now.
That's not today's price.
Know. He won't do that either, Maggie. He won't do a little symbolic move. He's really into this, I think. I think he wants to get paid like $33 million a year.
855-212-4227. You know what, though? I'd rather pay him before CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase get paid. Which direction do we think this is going?
That might be too late. That party already might have started. I think when those other receivers signed this offseason, the Niners were like, oh, crap.
I think the Amon-Ra St. Brown, they were like, oh, crap.
Yeah, that one. I mean, the Jefferson money probably is a factor, too. I know he's a different
Jefferson was
player.
Always going to reset the market. Yeah. I think the Amon-Ra St. Brown people were, and again, he didn't get a lot of guaranteed money. It's a big number, $120 million. Oh, my gosh, eye-popping. But $34 million or whatever, $36 million guaranteed is not a backbreaker for an NFL team. And I think behind the scenes in the NFL, I think that St. Brown contract definitely made an impact. Like, oh, man, we got to do that now. 855-212-4227. Do the 49ers need Brandon Aiyuk to win a Super Bowl? Yes or no? You're welcome to weigh in. We're live, baby. across the country on these Infinity Sportsnet stations who we love. We're on Sirius XM channel 158. We are streaming live, youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. Look at this. We've been breaking down every NFL division day by day leading into the NFL season. Looky what we have today. Perloff's beloved NFC East.
If you're watching on the YouTube stream, I'm very sad that I'm not wearing green right now, but I'm a journalist. I have to be objective here, Maggie.
Sure.
Just like you are with the Bills.
I've got a whole corner here. We're basically at a shrine.
Big J journalism going on here. Let's look at the NFC East and not have an Eagles perspective, as hard as that will be.
I've got a big take on the Eagles.
Really?
Yeah.
Are we talking, I assume they're going to win the Super Bowl. Is that a take? I mean, or is it so obvious?
No, look at you. 855-212-4227. I like the energy. Okay, question for you. Do the 49ers need Brandon Aiyuk to win a Super Bowl? What do you think? We get to your calls next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. So we are going division by division with big takes from each division. Today, finally, we get to a real division. Well, I would argue the premier division in the NFL.
Yeah.
At least it was when I was a kid. It used to be Fox or CBS would have Madden and Summerall, and every game would be the NFC East. It was either the then Washington team, Dallas, Eagles, or Giants would always be like the primetime game. And it felt like the whole league ran through that. Not as much anymore. Now it's
Cowboys
I would
still
say,
get a lot of primetime.
The Cowboys get a lot of time, but as a division, it's been really up and down. Like there was a few years ago, you could easily win this thing with 9 wins. Now you have 2 good teams, 2 terrible teams. And obviously, I think we'll start with the Eagles. You said you had a good Eagles take. I cannot wait to hear it.
Well, I didn't know you thought they were, going to waltz right into the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm already planning to be at the parade.
Exciting. Stay away from the horses. This is my thought on the Eagles. I think it'd be wildly disappointing for them to not be a Final Four team. We could take it one step further at Super Bowl, but I don't think they're going to be in the Super Bowl this year. I think for them not to at least be in the NFC Championship game, though, has got to be wildly disappointing for you. I didn't realize your standards were much higher, that this was Super Bowl or bust.
No, I'm joking about the Super Bowl. That's funny, though. So I think they're the second odds-wise or third odds. Like, don't you think San Francisco and Detroit are right there? Like, why? You say Final Four, like, it's a disappointment if they don't make it that far.
I do.
I hear what you're saying. So,
because again, I think that they will probably win the division, and that means, they may have a gaudy record doing it, which means you're getting maybe home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Like we saw how that really helped them get to the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah, but they're not. San Francisco is the best team, and I think Detroit's probably the second bestest team. The Eagles are a little. You saw what happened. They lost 5 of their last 6 games. They got slaughtered in the first wildcard round. So I do think the expectations are a little lower.
But isn't that because Jalen Hurts was hurt and nobody wanted to acknowledge it?
No, it was because the coaching was so awful last year that.
Well, they changed that.
Yeah, they changed. That's what I think. This is, in a sense, an improved team. Now, I don't.
Who'd they bring in? Vic Fangio?
They brought in Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. So the thing is, last year, like, I don't know what the hell happened. Sorry, I don't know what happened to the coach staff. Like they were so predictable. Team, they did not know what to do with a non-mobile Jalen Hurts, and the entire team fell apart. The defense, they brought in, for example, Kevin Byard, former All-Pro safety out of Tennessee. He's like, I'm not even going to try. You just walk right by me. There are videos of him just deciding not to tackle guys, making business decisions left to right. Oof. Their defense was so bad and given up so bad at the end of last year. So I think Vic Fangio is going to change all that. But it's so funny you say that because I do disagree. Like, I don't think anyone saying the Eagles are the best team. Last year, they were definitely like it was Super Bowl or bust. Yeah. Everyone's like, they came off this really close win. They are the favorite. Now, it's funny. I don't feel like they have favorite status anymore. It's a little different this year. It's definitely down.
But don't you feel like in order for them to really not be considered, it was this 1 year that was the aberration where they got to the Super Bowl, that no, this is actually who they are. They have to make some kind of run this year. You cannot have another one and done in the playoffs and still be considered this formidable team, right?
Well, they're not like an all-in team, though. Yes, I mean, you definitely want that, but this is a team that could theoretically
How are they not all in?
Well, because like Jalen Hurts is 26 years old.
They paid him a ton.
Right, like they're
already been to a Super Bowl.
No, I mean, it's not like this year or bust. That's what I mean. Like they could be back next year, they could be back the year after. So they won in 17 and they got back in 22. Like this is a team under Sirianni, I think, that probably has what they consider a longer window. It might not be with Sirianni, but they have Hurts there for a long time. They have AJ Brown, Davante Smith. They have a lot of young linemen on both sides of the ball. Like I think they think that like. No, this isn't like it's not Super Bowl or bust. I don't feel that energy at all.
I
feel that
was
San Francisco, but nobody's gonna like. Yes, it'd be a disappointment, but it's not like, oh man, this is a team that has to get the Final Four. Or you fire everybody. I don't think it's that bad.
Okay, but isn't Sirianni on the hot seat?
He is.
Right, so it's like you're gonna go if you don't get basically what does he have to do to keep his job?
You lose a divisional round game to the Niners, he's not gonna get fired.
He's not.
No, if you second round to the Niners, I don't think so. They got to turn. You realize how bad it got last year?
No, I know, but he was at the helm of it.
Like, yeah. But nobody takes him seriously. Like the coordinators are to blame. Like, yes, it's just. I think you have the wrong expectation for this team. I really do. I don't think it's like Final Four or bust.
Honestly, I've never seen a coaching situation like Nick Sirianni. Is there a comp for this?
He's your little buddy. He's gonna get the guys riled up and like a super fan.
He's embarrassing when he does that kind of thing, number one. And number two, like, he literally got asked in a press conference. Can you imagine asking a head coach in a press conference, what do you do around here? What do you do around here? He's the head coach of the team.
Yeah.
And it was like a fair question.
No, it's not even.
It wasn't even like someone trolling. I don't even think it was Howard Eskin. I think it was just like a legit, not that he's not legit, but, it was like one of the newspaper guys.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a narrative out there that the only reason they made the Super Bowl was Shane Steichen was calling the plays.
Yeah, that might have been true.
There's no might. That was definitely true. But they brought in Kellen Moore. Let's give him a shot. Nick Sirianni is a manager of people. He's a relationship guy, Maggie. The head coach, do you think all the great head coaches were sitting there calling plays?
I think they were doing stuff.
John Harbaugh.
They did things.
John Harbaugh has never called a play in his life. What's he do?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Bobby Bowden, when he was 81 at Florida State, what did he do? No, it's a unique situation. But listen, it worked 2 years ago. So he wasn't the strategic guy necessarily. Yeah. I don't even think you could say strategic. He's
got all the fertilizer on all the plants and he's going to grow. I also think that the Eagles, listen, this is why you got to get a little bit lucky when you're making a Super Bowl run. The year that the Eagles did go to the Super Bowl 2 years ago with Jalen Hurts, they played absolutely no good quarterbacks in the regular season, I guess outside of Dak Prescott, and who was injured, I think, for the first matchup. And they waltzed to home field advantage, and then Brock Purdy's elbow ripped off his, the rest of his body in the first quarter of the game in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, regardless, if you had a mobile Jalen Hurts, they were dangerous then, and they had the tush push. So let's not discount that. They only needed 9 yards in the first 3 downs.
Has Jason Kelce properly prepped the next guy to do this play?
Maybe not. I don't even know if they run it as much.
Oh, they will.
I mean, first of all,
they can't quit that play.
The hidden truth about the tush push is the quarterback sneak also works about 88% of the time, so they could just quarterback sneak. But, Bogusch, I wanted your take on this. Do you feel like the Eagles are a Final Four or bust team? Like the Niners, we both have said they are.
Asking a Giants fan to do this feels like a particular type of torture.
I just want a neutral perspective. The Lions,
he's not.
The Lions are kind
professional,
of a Final Four
That's
bust.
true. You're more professional than we are.
Yeah. Do you think do you view the Eagles as a sort of get very far in the playoffs or bust team?
It's weird because my first thought is no, they're not Final Four or bust, but I think if they are not that good at the end of the season, then they might fire Sirianni. So then
divisional round, if they got the divisional round, would they fire Sirianni?
If they lose second round to, say, the Niners, no. But if they lose a game that they shouldn't lose, then maybe he does get fired if he actually doesn't do anything around here.
This is a trend at the show where
they're in a weird
everybody
spot.
thinks you're saying the Eagles got to get the Final Four. It's a disaster. Everyone's saying you said the Phillies have to win a World Series. I see what you're doing here. You just want me to suffer as a sports fan. So you are raising the bar on Philadelphia teams.
There's literally nothing I can do to affect the outcome of this.
That's a mistake. Fans expect all this.
Me acknowledging the expectations, that's just legit. You're in the fog. You can't see it.
I think you're overestimating the expectations. I don't think a lot of people are going to pick the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. Peter Schrager, who picks this from the NFL Network, who picks this right every year. I don't think the Eagles are going to be his team. I think the Niners are in a Super Bowl or bust mode. I think the Eagles lowered the bar last year.
EAGLES.
Yeah,
good times.
You know who's in a?
Gosh, I can't wait for football.
Who has more pressure, the Cowboys or the Eagles?
Actually, I weirdly think the Eagles now. I don't think anyone knows what to think of the Cowboys. The Cowboys, I think the pressure is off. The fan base is off the bandwagon. Big Dave's upset. Everyone's waiting until Dak Prescott's gone. Mike McCarthy's in a contract year. I think this is actually where we'll get to the Cowboys.
Okay.
This could be the moment for them to strike. We're going into a season and absolutely no one in the right mind is picking the Cowboys to do anything.
The Cowboy, that actually is all kind of funny. But the truth is, if the Cowboys don't win a playoff game and maybe win two, it is everything's changing. The Eagles, to me, are not quite the same. Maybe Sirianni goes, but who cares?
Would anyone even notice?
I just think that I do not feel like the Eagles are coming in that kind of pressure cooker at all. I feel like the expectations have lowered significantly.
Let's get to some headlines. We'll be breaking down the NFC East throughout the show, so might as well rip the Band-Aid, do the Eagles right away. We'll continue that next hour. What's up, Andrew Bogusch?
Good
haven't
morning.
seen you in a while.
I know. 4 consecutive shows I wasn't here for. I'll be here tomorrow, but then things change on Friday, right? So we're all over the place.
I would say you're more valuable to this show than Nick Sirianni is to the Eagles. At least we know what you do around here.
Yeah, but again,
what a compliment.
That's the thing. I don't know how significant that is. If he's just hanging out. Most people are more useful than him.
Honestly, Big Nick or whatever that guy's name, the security guard, seemed like he was more important.
Dom,
Big
not
Dom.
Nick. Sorry, Big
Nick
Dom.
Sirianni is a relationship builder. He's that's
The
a
team
thing.
imploded
He's like
last year because
guy.
they all hated each other. Where was all the good relationship building last year?
He improves everyone else's relationship in the league.
Honestly, you had
Matt Patricia,
no,
but
what's your wide receiver name? Why am I blanking out? AJ Brown basically calling into WIP, having to defend his relationship with Jalen Hurts. If you're actually a good relationship person, that stuff doesn't happen.
not his fault. Basically, what happened
dry
last
heat
year
his
was
fault?
last year. So for some reason, Bill Belichick had an undue influence on his team, and they told him to sit the current defensive coordinator, make Matt Patricia the coordinator, and the defense is like, screw that, we're not playing for Matt Patricia. You asked a head.
Sirianni gets none of the blowback from
come
that.
on.
It's his coaching staff. So what does he do around here?
Well, that was clearly a Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie decision. That had nothing to do with Nick Sirianni. I'm telling you, he's this cute little mascot head coach. It's a unique role.
Got a little Jerry Jones in him. The Eagles do. They don't want their coach getting too much power.
No, I think the GM, it's like a baseball team. The GM runs that team. So I think it's a little, you're right. That's a good analogy. They don't want somebody to take too much spotlight in that head coaching position.
Oh, I know. Howie Roseman lived through Chip Kelly. Never again.
Yeah, no.
He said never again is some coach going to come in and take my headlines.
That's such a good point. Like they want a guy like Nick Sirianni who's just going to do what he's told. And be just like sort of like a big Labrador retriever running around the stadium, hitting guys in the pad saying, all right, let's go get him, AJ.
I'm sure NFL players respond really well to that. What else we got, Bogusch?
All the headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance.
Oh, my God.
The National League ended its 9 All-Star game losing streak last summer, then added Shohei Ohtani in the offseason, looking to start a winning streak.
It's this ball hard, way back to right field. Soto doesn't even move. Ohtani has homered in the All-Star game.
A 3-run no-doubter from Ohtani to give the NL a 3-0 lead, top 3 in Texas. Joe Davis called it on Fox, but the senior circuit never scored again. The AL got even in the bottom half of the third on a 2-run double from Juan Soto and a pinch hit RBI single from Guardians DH David Fry. And then Red Sox center fielder Jarren Duran cracked a 2-run blast in the 5th off Reds righty Hunter Green. The AL won 5-3. Duran named MVP in his All-Star debut.
Honestly, I can't really put it into words right now. I'm kind of overwhelmed with emotions, but
I'm just very thankful to be here, and to represent the Red Sox is a big honor.
He is the 5th All-Star Game MVP in Sox history. J.D. Drew was the last in 2008. Phillies legend. Pedro Clemens, Carl Yastrzemski did it as well.
Can I ask you guys a question? Last night, Ohtani hit the homer, and I was thinking, do you guys remember that betting scandal with the interpreter? What happened to that? Maggie, you
I've been following it religiously.
Yeah, but how did they make it disappear like that?
Maggie's
Who's
like,
dead?
Thanks for asking. She flips Pete's mad board.
Is there
to
anything
the
going on?
I've got some literature in my car. I've been thinking about this all the time. It went away so fast.
How did Shohei put it to the side and just perform at this level?
Everyone got a cut.
When I was asking these questions a couple weeks ago, I was accused of just being a conspiracy theorist. Maggie, let it go. It's an open and shut case. Clearly, it was the interpreter was running some kind of rogue operation. And when I said, how could somebody be placing 10,000 bets and their best friend has no idea, I was called a kook.
Well,
that's how it played out, though. You were a kook. Nothing happened. No, Shohei had nothing to do with it. He's just going out there and raking.
Because Perloff has a different question than you. His was just like, how did Shohei get over this emotionally? You're saying, how did he not do anything illegal?
I'm saying, how did he not know about it? He didn't know anything, not one thing. He didn't know one thing. He didn't know he was placing one bet on UCLA women's soccer that never came up in conversation. And Show was like, why does this guy care about a college?
But do you guys remember when they had that meeting in the locker room in Korea? The Dodgers were there, and
Don't
the
get her
interpreter told the whole
started.
team.
Look at her.
Yeah, remember the whole team? He told the whole team. And Shohei's like, Shohei's sitting there being like, wait, you did what? I think Shohei
we'll talk
had
about
no
it at the
idea.
hotel. We'll talk about it at the hotel. It's like, no, let's talk about it now.
Yeah, Shohei's like, hey, isn't this cool? My interpreter wants to address the team. I wonder if this is going to be a hype speech. Let's go. Wait, what?
It's Nick Sirianni.
Wait,
telling
you
everyone to
bet
go
what?
get him with a pat on the butt. No, I love it. It's like, hey, who are you on the phone with? ESPN? Why would you be talking to them in statements you're going to fully retract, deny, and disavow 12 hours later? Sure, this is not weird at all, this story.
Maybe Shohei's a useful idiot. Maybe he's just like, I'm just going to go out there and hit the baseball. And I think that's what has happened this season.
Did you guys see, someone made this joke on social media, and I'm not sure how many people made it. I just saw it one time, where they said that Shohei was honoring his dog who's always with him with the inside of his jacket, and it was pictures of literally his dog's face, but the dog's name is Decoy, and the guy changed it to Ipe's face all in the interior, like the lining of his jacket. His dog who's always with him, always by his side. The dog's name's Decoy.
And somebody changed
the pictures of the dog's face on the interior lining of his sport jacket to Ipe's face.
In real life this happened, or on Instagram?
On Instagram it happened.
Like photoshopped.
Photoshopped, yeah. No?
Well, that's not a legit.
That's who you follow now, huh?
That's not a legit conspiracy.
If I told you the other people I follow, you guys would really want to.
So, so it's mid-July, All-Star break. Shohei is going to win the MVP again, easily. Like, it's not even going to be close. Do you really think that he knew all along and he could just put that to the side and go out there and hit home runs like this?
The idea knew all along. I don't know. I think he had I think he suspected something. I think just like, anyone who has an addiction close in your life, I know a lot of people can hide them, but I think maybe it never fully blindsides you. Like he said, he was completely blindsided. The guy was placed 10,000 bets.
Because his teammate, David Fletcher, covered it up for Ipe.
Yes, he's been involved as well.
Now he's a knuckleball pitcher with the Braves, and he threw 8 1/3 scoreless. Or 1 run. That's something else.
Yeah, right.
What does his success in this game have to do with anything?
Because he went from a gambling addict under investigation to being cut by the Angels. Now he's a knuckleballing pitcher throwing 8 1/3 1 hit or 2 hits for the Braves AAA team.
Yeah, David Fletcher also got caught up in the ring.
It was a triple.
It was a minor league game where he's a pitcher when he was an infielder.
Oh,
he came up as a shortstop.
And how does this explain that this is a piece of the big conspiracy?
He also now is in this gambling ring.
Yeah,
right?
he's being investigated.
He knew how to throw a knuckleball all along. Could have been a great pitcher, but since he was throwing bets, he held that back. Is that what you're going?
That's what it seems like.
This is why I advocate for Ryan to be on the show as much as possible.
Right.
What a love triangle this is between Maggie, Pete, and Ryan. Going back between betting and 80s rom-coms.
You should see our text thread.
No thanks.
I mean, did you see David Fletcher throw 8 1/3 knuckleball innings? But you didn't say
did.
triple A
Gwinnett.
at first. What the heck? I'm sorry, I can't. Maggie, you got to bring in one of your big boards from home with all the connecting lines.
Listen, I can't do the work for you, okay? You've got to
Do your own research.
You've got to take some accountability. I'm just asking questions.
Look,
over
what
here.
he's saying is that Ohtani's a fraud, and we all know that. Bogusch, back to you.
How is he a fraud? He had no idea. I think he had no idea.
Yeah, selective, no idea.
I think he was blindsided at that meeting.
Ridiculous.
He's like, I just want to tell you that I've been stealing money from Shohei Ohtani. Wait, what's going on here? I think he could possibly emotionally rebound from that and have the best season in all of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, because he's still betting.
Oh, I didn't see that curve coming.
No, he's still betting.
That would be amazing.
Antenna up again.
If the Braves made the World Series, no, actually it'd be the LCS, and Ohtani was going up against a crafty knuckleballer Fletcher in the playoffs.
Great.
Who knows what?
Yeah,
used to
who
launder
knows
his gambling
what bets
money?
are on the line?
Don't worry, Fletcher will be in jail by the time we get to the playoffs. I'm just kidding.
He'll
I'm
bet
kidding.
on Fletcher to strike him out twice.
Did you see, speaking of gambling scandals, Jonte Porter, who actually was literally throwing games or not throwing games, throwing his prop bets for the Toronto Raptors. He has asked the judge if he can have a special dispensation so he can go play overseas.
Yeah, which team?
And they
do you
said
wanna
no.
play?
I can't imagine. What team is going to bring him on?
A team. No, he had a job. He had an offer. And he said, "Can you please let me go?" And the judge said no.
Who runs the team? Like the mafia?
Play
We'll bring
blackjack
him on.
overseas?
Yeah.
What's that?
Play blackjack overseas?
Yeah.
You want to get into some dicey gambling stuff.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Overseas, like they throw stuff all the time. He'll fit right in, right?
Going to play for Moscow?
Yeah, I mean,
Ay.
our buddy Doug Gottlieb used to tell stories about how he got paid in Russia. That he said the organized crime ran the basketball league.
That's
So,
right. Yeah,
so
that was-
Jonte Porter would fit in perfect, right?
He's going to become the head of a crime syndicate. Oh, boy. Do we have any more time? Perloff, you distracted us.
I just had to bring it up. Nobody else is thinking about this. You're the only one who's like keeping this scandal alive. Everyone else moved on. I don't know how everyone moved on, Maggie. You're right. I do think it's a little weird that the national media will never speak to it. They didn't mention it last night once.
They all got a cut. That's what happened here.
Everyone's
afraid-
in on this.
Are they afraid to
Is the
talk about
IOC
gambling?
involved too?
Buster
Pete?
only
Yes.
taking bouncer tips to ignore the.
He won on Fletcher's striking out however many he did in that game.
You got Joe Davis skimming off the top to be polite to Ohtani? Okay.
Yes.
Like it was the All-Star game last night. They reset every storyline for every guy, and I don't think they mentioned the gambling
Yeah,
scandal.
because I think probably Rob Manfred was probably behind them with like a BB gun.
He's
Just like,
producing them.
how dare you? Do not.
It's a puppeteer.
Right.
Man, maybe he
All
could
right.
have done something about those uniforms. Get
Don't
that
quote
later.
it.
Well, I was going to mention, he did apparently yesterday come off his very strong stance pro these uniforms, admitting that the players and the fans feel strongly about everybody wearing their own uniforms, so they will have discussions about that coming off this game.
What is there to have discussions about? Go back to the old way and still sell the other form of the jersey like they always do. I don't know what the big problem is.
Can I just throw something out there? Maybe having a drunken anthem singer and ugly uniforms was just a distraction for the masses to avoid the gambling scandal that is rocking the entire sport.
Here's my question about
Another
that.
decoy?
Here's my question about the anthem singer, real
Yeah.
quick. Is how is she able to go out there drunk? You know,
Like, who didn't stop
with
her?
400 people in that tunnel, probably,
Yeah.
and no one says, "Oh, hey, she may not be
Wait.
able to do this."
Let's pause on that and pick it up after the break because we do have questions about this. It's
That's
a
a
good
tease, folks.
question. It is a heck of a tease. We got some update on the anthem singer and her condition.
And how did they let the uniform maker design something that they were clearly hammered? Because there's no sober person who would make that NL uniform.
the same one that made the see-through ones.
All right. Wait, hold on. Hold that thought. Bogusch, we basically did almost none of your update.
No, as
Please
long as Pete's angry, I'm fine.
I'm angry.
save the Coach K thing
Put it
for
on the
next
board.
hour, please. Okay, we're back in just a moment. We'll break down everything we saw in the All-Star game last night.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Something to say, infinity's Bibolotti's got something to say, infinity's mice. He's feeling the dismay. No NBA on NBC. What a shame. Just JJ Redick's wine ain't the same. Peter Bellotti is getting upset. Maggie Perloff, can you hear his plea? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Set his spirit free, he misses Mar. Co-stars and the crew, those were the days. Pete cries out boo, boo. Bring it back, or can't you see? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Let it be. Pete's mad, he's feeling sad. Bring it back, oh make it right.
Running through the end zone, touchdown the field. Bills and Eagles, yeah, we never gonna yield. Stats and insights, we the legends of the game. Maggie Perloff, we taking all the fame. I take stats, saying we bring the heat each day. Talking football, that's the only way to play. From the Bills Mafia to the Philly faithful, we got that game day glory. Unstoppable and grateful. Unstoppable and grateful. Oh, Pete Bellotti, he's got a new shirt. It's purple and snazzy, ain't no dirt. Got it from his kids on Father's Day. Now he wears it in a proud peacock way. Hey! Purple shirt, our Pete looks so fine. Every time he wears it, oh how he shines. Walking down the street, he's a dashing sight. In the purple shirt, everything's alright. It's not just a shirt, it's a royal robe. Strutting around the town, across the globe. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Pink and purple, the fairest of them all. Hey! Purple shirt, our Pete looks so fine. Every time he wears it, oh how he shines. Walking down the street, he's a dashing sight. In that purple shirt, everything's alright. It's not just a shirt, it's a royal robe. Strutting around the town, across the globe. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Pink and purple, the fairest of them all. Hey! Purple shirt, our Pete looks so fine. Every time he wears it, oh how he shines. Walking down the street, he's a dashing sight. In that purple shirt, everything's alright. From morning coffee to the evening dine. In the purple shirt, Pete does nothing but shine. Call it magic or a stroke of luck. That shirt's a hit, who gives a duck? So here's to Pete in his purple flare, turning heads here and everywhere. Bubble the new black, haven't you heard? All thanks to Pete and his fabulous shirt.
45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Last break because we were up against it. But let's get into the All-Star game from last night. So Couple things that happened. Number one, yes, the uniforms are atrocious. I don't understand, Perloff, how a league has consistently fumbled this uniform thing going from the beginning of the season when the players were complaining because they were see-through, and boy, were they. And now the All-Star. Now, this is a little just more of a matter of taste. What happened in the beginning of the season, I could see people genuinely being uncomfortable about your junk being totally visible through a pair of white pants. That's a legitimate gripe to the Players Association. Yesterday was a little bit just more of a matter of taste. I just thought that the uniforms weren't that aesthetically pleasing. I don't know what you thought.
No, I actually definitely not. I didn't mind the hats. The hats, especially the American League, the white hat was kind of cool, but the uniform was hideous. I don't know why that color. Like, what is that color? It's not white. It's not brown. It's somewhere in the spectrum there. Yeah, it was bad. And I do think, though, that I've never understood aqua blue uniforms. Like the Charlotte Hornets back in the day, I'm like, why would you be this kind of like weird color? But I guess that markets well to kids.
Oh,
like,
I love that. Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. Like
the Charlotte Hornets, when I was a kid, when LJ was playing for them, and it was like Muggsy Bogues and stuff, that was the coolest uniform and coat and starter jacket to have.
That's the thing. All these alternate jerseys have that aqua blue. Like the National League had that aqua blue last night, and I think they think that kids like this like light off blue.
Sure.
But it's ugly. Right?
I thought the American League ones were worse. I
really
the American
League
didn't mind the National League ones.
But you don't mind this? Like, I'm looking at them now. So it's black with this, I just think it's ugly, this aqua blue. Like, and that's like most of the city uniform. What do they call them? City uniforms or
any alternate?
Yeah, they all look like this, and I don't get the color scheme. I'm more of a classic guy, and I think the players are right. They can't bring these back.
And they just want to wear their own uniforms. I think that's the classic thing that everyone kind of grew up with. You wear your own uniform to the All-Star game and represent yourself and your team there. Now, Pete had a great point, because the anthem singer, who unfortunately did a pretty bad job and a bad rendition, and everyone made fun of it, but this has a very serious and sort of, forgive the pun, sobering ending, because she's checked herself into rehab. She says that she was drunk when she was singing the anthem. She has a problem, and she needs to get help for it. Pete, I think it's a great point. How many people were around her may have known that she was intoxicated and still let her go out and sing the anthem?
Exactly. Whenever Major League Baseball has a big event, whether it be the World Series, whether it be the All-Star Game, there's so many MLB personnel around the building. How she made it past anybody is beyond me in that state. I mean, she might have hit it well, but still, I mean...
Well, she didn't, though, because the anthem was bad.
But he's saying before she might have hit it well.
But here's the other thing. She probably had to do rehearsal.
Right.
That was probably earlier in the day, though. She could rehearse she probably rehearsed at 1 o'clock. Here's the thing, like, who's not a better singer when they're drunk? I mean, you can't go into a karaoke room sober. So it's a degree
I think we found the one person. She just happened to do this on the biggest stage.
You got to be between 3 and 6 drinks, and, you got to time it right. If she had done it a half hour before, she might have sounded glorious. But you've all been there where you cross the line where, Maggie, you're just killing it to September. And then you're just, like 5 minutes later, you're butchering Madonna. Yeah, we all cross the line. Like, drunk singing's fine. Too drunk singing, bad.
Yeah, well, and this is the issue here is that it's not that your singing gets better. It's that that you care less about how you sound. So, unfortunately, she's got a real issue. So hopefully she gets the help that she needs. But I think it's a fair point. I wonder if they thought, gosh, we can't just, even if she's really drunk, we can't just like throw someone else out there. Again, Perloff mentioned rehearsals. You kind of have the whole thing timed up and timed out. Can you just like say, hey, you're a pretty good singer in the shower. Get in there and replace this woman.
And you might want to watch what you put in the suites before the performance.
I know, but you know what? She's an adult, right?
I know, but I mean, they might have to start looking at that if something like this happens.
I hope she gets it. I hope she, gets it together. Ingrid Andress is her name, and she's a multiple-time Grammy nominee. I hope she gets it together because she's got a whole career in front of her.
She has a hit song called "Wishful Drinking," so apparently she enjoys her cocktails. That being said, she's doing the right thing. She's going to rehab. I disagree with you, Peter. Like, I think like it's hard to tell. Like, think about it. You're like an MLB executive. Like, she really have to be drunk to pull her out. And I don't think she was that drunk. We didn't even know she was drunk until she told us afterwards.
I know, but do you remember when Joe Namath was put on Monday Night Football and said he wanted to kiss Susie Colbert?
Very much so, yeah. I was there that night, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I was at that game. It was like honoring old Jets.
And listen, you don't want to take any of the responsibility away from Joe himself, but should they have put him on the air that night?
I think it's harder to tell than you guys think in the moment how drunk someone is.
Coming up, we reveal more of our sitcom bracket next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Brandon Aiyuk wants a trade. The All-Star game was last night. We've got plenty of sports. Davante Adams' agents are putting out statements about his future. Believe me, we've got plenty of sports to get to. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, but everything comes to a screeching halt when the sitcom bracket needs an update.
Yeah, definitely.
So what should I do? Should I update yesterday's results and then we'll start with the next region?
That sounds fine.
Okay, great. So yesterday we gave you the Simpsons region in the Maggie and Perloff sitcom bracket. So here are some updates for you. The Simpsons moves on past the 8th-seeded Big Bang Theory, 63 to 37%.
Way too low for Big Bang Theory. Big Bang should still be alive, but go ahead.
How about, we talked about how the results have been skewing towards the newer sitcoms as opposed to the older ones. How about the Jeffersons just taking out Martin? I am stunned by this result. I thought Martin was going to get more of the recent crowd, and by recent, I mean the 90s. The Jeffersons, 73 to 27%. Golden Girls goes down, and somewhere Big Zoo sheds a tear. Family Guy is the 14 seed and perhaps the most dangerous 14 seed in the history of any bracket.
Blanche. No.
And The Office beat Family Ties 78% to 22%.
That's not a surprise.
No.
Everyone's counting out The Office. I think The Office makes a big run.
Oh, no one's counting out The Office. The Office is a heavy hitter.
They have been steamrolling.
They've done really well. The Office is one of those streaming shows. Everybody's now watched every episode 1,000 times. I generally think the newer shows should have a good chance because they're on now. Like, we're watching them. I don't mean to do recency bias, but I can't even turn on my TV without seeing 6 episodes of Modern Family. I would think that's a big deal.
So that's the results from yesterday. That was the Simpsons bracket. Let's move on to today. The voting will be open in just moments in the Cheers region of the sitcom bracket, and it starts, of course, with the number 1 overall seed, Cheers.
Hey, Norm! Hey, beer with you. How's life treating you, Norm? I got just ran over its dog.
Okay.
I mean, it's amazing how long they kept that running. It might not sound funny now, but in 1987, man, that was funny.
It's Slade. Goes up against the 8th seed, that is Arrested Development.
Now the story of a wealthy family who lost everything and the one son who had no choice but to keep them all together. It's Arrested Development.
There you go. Cheers up against Arrested Development. That's your 1-8 matchup. The 5th seed in the Cheers region is a little show you may have heard of called Happy Days.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. Saturday, what a day. Grooving all week with you. These days are ours.
And you're welcome, America, because that song will be stuck in your head for the rest of the day.
If we had a song bracket for all these sitcoms, that'd be number 1.
Oh, such a catchy tune. Happy Days is facing the 13 seed in this region, 2.5 Men.
Manly men. Manly men. Ooh. Manly men.
Both of those are going to be stuck in your head. Happy Days, it goes up against 2.5 Men. We move on. This is the Cheers region of the Maggie and Perloff sitcom bracket. The 11 seed is Married with Children.
Love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. This I tell you, brother, you can't have one without the other.
A little Frank Sinatra there. Married with Children as the 11 seed, facing the 3 seed in this region, Modern Family. The 7 seed in the Cheers region of the Maggie and Perloff bracket is South Park.
I'm going down to South Park, gonna have myself a time.
Friendly faces everywhere, humble folks without temptation.
Going down to South Park, gonna leave my woes behind.
Ample parking day or night, people spouting potty.
And South Park is facing Friends.
Maggie just did the Friends clap. Please don't do that again.
Listen, we're a visual medium as well,
Yes,
not just an audio product.
No, I
these days.
understand that. I'm talking to for the YouTube audience. I just do not want to. You do look a little like you look a little Jennifer Aniston.
Her hairstyle's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I think Maggie could pull off the Jennifer Aniston look for
it's
sure.
the nicest thing that anyone's ever said to me.
Anyone
ever. That was nicer than my vows. Okay, so
it's
there
when you
go.
did the little sideways clap by your ear.
I'm wearing kind of a 90s
I
shirt
mean,
today.
let's face it, I could definitely pull off a Schwimmer. And that is not a positive thing. I don't think anybody wants to be David Schwimmer. You want to be Joey.
You're right. Okay, so Cheers goes against Arrested Development, Happy Days and 2.5 Men, Married with Children against Modern Family, and South Park against Friends. This is insane. How do you choose?
Something went wrong with our seating because a lot of these shows could get through other brackets, like to the end of other brackets. South Park should not go out. It's just an amazing show.
Maybe it'll beat Friends.
That'd be an upset. I'm telling you, Maggie, wait till your kids get a little older. Modern Family, to me, is a unique show because you can be 10 and love it, and you can be 20 and love it, and you can be 30 and love it. It's one of those. I think that's what I've been thinking about.
So not Married with Children? Although I was watching Married with Children when I was 10.
Well, I just think that like there's a brilliance in shows like The Simpsons that can write for all ages. Like the joke writers are so good that they're hitting everybody. There's like an emotional chord. I think Friends does some of that. I think you get a lot of credit for reaching a broad audience. Where Married with Children a little more narrow. It's still awesome.
Yeah, I was watching it at 10 years old, and all the jokes were just flying right over my head. I don't think I guess I kind of understood. I don't know if I should have been watching that show at 10 years old, but.
Well, I'll tell you, basically, the joke is Al doesn't want to hook up with his wife.
Yeah, I got that.
The one joke that is going on. And then it turns out Katie Seagal, who plays the wife, is like drop dead gorgeous in real life. And I remember that. I remember the son was like a big deal for 5 minutes. Bud.
Well, and it launched Christina Applegate.
Yeah.
And I was a big fixture in my childhood because of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, which Pete often references.
It's a very underrated movie.
It's a great movie. Is it underrated? Are people not watching it anymore?
No, I don't think people are watching it anymore, but people that have watched it, I think, enjoy it.
Yeah, the dishes are done, man.
I'm not sure the plot is 100% plausible, but
it's all right. Mom goes out of town, and the kids it descends into chaos, and they get it all back together.
Is this
she's
the
the leader?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And this is probably not worth the airtime. Is that the one where they drive into Chicago at night?
No, that's Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
What movie are we talking about?
We're talking about. No, I'm sorry. That's Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. You're talking about Adventures of Babysitting.
That's Elizabeth Shue,
yes,
right?
Sorry.
Okay, I'm getting the two movies.
Yes, they leaves the babysitter with everyone. And she is elderly and she passes away.
And she drops dead.
Yeah.
Okay. They have a similar vibe.
Yeah, probably. It's very influential films to a certain set.
I'm not going to give it away, but I think you should watch it.
Adventures in Babysitting or
both? I mean,
I've
both,
seen both.
I think
I've definitely seen both. I'm a flip-through cable guy. I've seen every movie you guys are.
Ryan Botcher, you are the youngest person here. Have you seen Adventures in Babysitting or Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's
You
Dead?
guys are speaking in a different language.
Yeah, by the way,
sorry.
Brian, do not, talking about data, do not waste 2 seconds on either of those movies.
I would watch Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I don't know about Adventures in Babysitting.
Do you know who Elizabeth Shue is?
Who? Shue?
You don't know Elizabeth Shue? So you've never seen Cocktail?
No. What is that?
Sure.
Is that Cocktail is Elizabeth Shue's signature movie?
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just wondering. When did she become famous? Like, she got an Oscar nom for Leaving Las Vegas, right?
That was a good movie.
Yeah, that's the one you should watch.
She's recently in a show called The Boys on Amazon. Ryan, I thought you might know that.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, you might know her. She has a star role in the first season of The Boys.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I bet her IMDb is a lot better than people think.
More importantly, her brother Andrew Shue was a hunk on Melrose Place, and I was wondering, was there a poster of Andrew Shue anywhere in the Maggie Gray household?
There was not, but you're bearing the lead. You and I were walking.
Oh my God!
And we saw Andrew Shue. Andrew Shue also, unfortunately, got into a little, by association, got into a bit of a scandal because his wife left him for on Good Morning America. Right?
Uh-huh.
There was the big scandal about the two anchors who were having a relationship. Right. And she was married to Andrew Shue.
Andrew Shue, Dartmouth grad.
So those two were having an affair. They like have a podcast now.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
They're really leaning in.
Totally disgusting. They get fired from ABC and let's go make money off their affair. Get lost.
I'm just, is that actually fireable offense? I know you have to disclose a relationship that you have.
Probably lied about a lot of things, and that's why they probably got fired.
Right. Adventures in Babysitting,
that should not be a fireable offense.
That's what I was wondering.
There's something else to it. They probably lied about it. There was probably some other things going on.
Andrew Shue played soccer at Dartmouth, and apparently he was a few years ahead of me. Elizabeth Shue used to come like every weekend and party at Dartmouth. And as a young Andrew, oh man, I had such a crush on her. I totally missed it. She's fantastic. Cocktail was such a weird movie, but she was great in that.
It's the weirdest movie. It's such an odd Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
She obviously also was in The Karate Kid. Yes. She's got a pretty good IMDb.
Right.
She's in The
Karate Kid.
She's in Cocktail, then Back to the Future Parts 2 and 3.
See, that's a little weak because she replaced the other actress, Leah Thompson.
She's in Soap Dish.
Oh, my wife's favorite movie of all time.
Leaving Las Vegas. You mentioned the Oscar nom there. Then we get a little. She's still working, but she's also in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is in this sitcom bracket.
Just there for a second. My wife loves 80s comedies, so she loves Soap Dish and The Money Pit with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Ryan, I'm sure you've never seen. If you want to know what life was like in 1987, you should watch these movies because the sense of humor was different. I don't know if you're doing a history project.
See, the thing is Ryan knows. I thought you might know because Ryan Botcher is producing for us. EJ's still laid up with his knee issue. You know a lot of older music. Like, you knew Fleetwood. You were offended that Perloff asked you what band Stevie Nicks was in, and you were like, Fleetwood Mac. Of course I know that. So I thought maybe you did know some of the older movies and stuff.
I know of the older movies.
Yeah.
Do I have the time and effort to sit down and watch them? Most likely no.
A lot easier just to listen to rumors.
That's not exactly a deep pull to know who Fleetwood Mac is.
I know that's that too.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever heard of a little band called the Rolling Stones?
No, who?
Some people haven't heard of it. I bet in this building.
Even my kids are young. You go into any store and they sell those vintage rock shirts, so they know all the bands. They're like, "Dad, who are the Ramones?" I'm like, "Well, sit down, daughter. I'm going to tell you." But
let me tell you a little story about CBGB.
Actually, it's funny. They all know. They all wear Led Zeppelin T-shirts. That's a big thing. They have no idea who Led Zeppelin is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. They know the songs, though.
No, but they at least know it's a rock band.
Got it.
EJ knew who Fleetwood Mac was, right? Or no? He didn't know that Stevie Nicks was in Fleetwood Mac.
Right.
Maybe not.
That was the part.
That's all right. Listen. Has he seen Adventures of Babysitting? Or I'm sorry, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Or an 80s comedy. The whole comedy. Whole episode.
Has he seen Throw Grandma from the Train?
That I've seen.
It's actually called Throw Mama from the Train.
Oh, Throw Mama from the Train.
You've seen that one?
I've seen about half of that one.
Or were you on a flight to Kazakhstan?
No, my dad likes it. It's Danny DeVito, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other guy.
Billy Crystal. No. Oh, I'm thinking Twins.
That's a great
Have you seen Twins?
Excellent.
No.
And when you say great movie.
Watchable. Watchable. Okay.
The cheese. The cheese.
The sitcom bracket, the Cheers region.
Can we take this entire segment out of the podcast and just air the last It is July at the Maggie Perloff show.
We plan for this stuff. Not so much the Elizabeth Shue conversation, but we're talented people who can go in any direction.
Is there any other show that's telling their young producer to watch Throw Mama from the Train?
Already saw it.
Real quick, the bit bracket, we'll have the Elite Eight on Friday announced, and then it'll be played out over the weekend in Dayton.
I got to be honest, that bit bracket is really cut through.
Yeah.
Because some people are saying, Perloff, that the bit bracket might even be better than the actual bracket.
How did we let some of those shows slip through? I look at the bit bracket, the NIT of the sitcom bracket. I don't understand. Like, what were we thinking?
Well, take it up with the committee.
Right.
Of which
a mirror
we are.
No, I remember
Yes,
we talked about those shows and somehow they didn't make the top 64.
we tried to maybe cover a little too much ground. But anyway, today you've got your heavy hitters here. Cheers against Arrested Development. Happy Days goes up against 2.5 Men. Married with Children versus Modern Family, and South Park head-to-head with friends. You can go to @Maggie and Pearl on X, where if you just click on our avatar, on my avatar, you can watch the show. Also, you can vote @Maggie Gray. 855-212-4227. We continue our breakdown of the NFC East. We're hitting every football division before training camp opens in earnest. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining.
EAGLES.
Give a little love to Bonnie Macarena.
Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
The nuts in their mouth.
Three minutes remaining.
Don't give away, what is it? The cow? Milk for free? Whatever.
Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Big butt.
Penix.
2 minutes remaining.
Feel the pipe.
One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right. Wait, this is an 80s. What is this? Top Gun? I don't even know.
Danger Zone, yeah.
Yeah, Danger Zone. Sorry, I'm not.
Is this Top Gun?
Yeah, wow, Maggie, you were like, what is the matter with you? Of course it's Top Gun. Yeah, I'm sorry. How about that, Ryan Bogusch? You seen the original Top Gun?
Yes.
Okay.
The new one also came out
Yes,
too, so I had to see that
idiot.
one too.
I'll bet you $1,000 DJ has not seen Top Gun 1. I bet you $100,000.
It's worth it to watch it just for the volleyball scene. I mean, speaking from one woman's opinion. Because I think it's better than the remake where they do the weird football on the beach scene, but they're using 2 footballs. It's
Don't question
ridiculous.
it. They have a good song in the background of that too.
Do you consider that a sports movie because there is a volleyball
scene? Kinda.
Yeah, we're doing a fun, it's great debate Wednesday. We're going to do a fun sports movie related topic later.
Excited
I'll tease
for that.
it. Oh,
Top
man.
of the hour.
Yeah, I didn't even think about movies that have just like one sports scene. I mean, honestly, my issue is, and the one thing I've always taken from that volleyball scene is jeans and no shirt. Not an acceptable look for most men.
Well, if you're Val Kilmer in the mid-'80s, it really works for you.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if any of the men in this room have ever tried to rock that look. It does not work, Maggie. It's hard.
Jeans with no shirt.
Oh, it's bad. Any form of pants with no shirt in public. Shorts, you got to wear shorts.
You got to wear a shirt.
I got to wear a shirt.
Wearing jean shorts?
No, there's a guy, I think it's, is it Tom Cruise? One of them is wearing, Tom Cruise, I think, is wearing jeans and no shirt.
Yeah, now I can't remember. I wasn't really focused on the pants.
Right.
Oh, get out of here. It might have been Goose, but he's like...
Tough.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards.
I don't think anyone's really tuning in for Anthony Edwards.
Holy smokes.
Is Val Kilmer, though, if your power ranking, was he the draw, or is it Cruise?
Cruise is, it's like, it's really hard to be topped.
Okay.
Michael Penn is, well, and we have a new competitor enter the chat. No, I mean, Cruise at his apex is probably Brad Pitt at the apex is the only one I think that really could rival Cruise. If you're talking about that, I mean, I'm doing this off the top of my head.
Are we allowed to weigh in on this subject? What's the rule here?
I mean, I'd rather spend a weekend looking like Brad Pitt than Tom Cruise, if that answers your question.
Is it because the height?
I didn't even know. No, I mean, I know Tom Cruise is shorter. I didn't know. Or is Brad Pitt tall? I don't know what your height.
That Tom Cruise is short.
No, I think Brad Pitt is more handsome than Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Man.
I'm Team Pitt.
Yeah.
My daughter just recently I told you this. We sat and we looked at all the People's Sexiest Men of the Year cover.
Yeah.
And she said, "Man,
it's a heck of a thing to do with your kids."
It's raining men.
I know, because my daughter is like,
whose idea was that?
Well, she's like,
Carlos.
she watched the Outsiders. She goes, Dad, that Rob Lowe is fine back in the day.
Hallelujah. It's raining men.
I was like, all right, well, I'm getting her.
Her eyesight works.
80s and 90s movies. Let's go.
Every specimen.
Let me get my album out.
The Outsider's like a who's who.
She's 13. She's all Team Brad Pitt. She likes like young guys like Timothée Chalamet, but she's like, Brad Pitt is the handsomest actor ever. I don't know. I can't wait on this. Bilotti,
Tall,
who do you got?
blonde, dark, and lean.
Bilotti's answer is Tom Hanks. We know that.
Yes, Tom Hanks is the best.
I was actually wondering about Bilotti because Bruce Bochy was the manager of the American League team and they won last night. I was like, man, what a day for Bilotti.
Yeah, it was paradise for me.
Yeah, like he needs like
Bochy supporter.
You need a thick mustache to reach your handsome men Mount Rushmore.
That's
so
right.
Tom Selleck is obviously
Honestly, there
the PI.
are fans in the Bay Area and Texas who are not even an eighth of the fan of Bruce Bochy that Bilotti is.
Later in the summer, Maggie, we should do your Mount Rushmore of hunky guys.
I don't think Tom Selleck's going to make the list, although he did have a moment.
But you're saying you have Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt already got a spot there, from what I'm hearing.
I know. I've got to really think about this, though. I don't want to just do this off the cuff.
Yeah, this is too important.
This is like my Mount Rushmore of greatest Buffalo Bills of all time. I really
Rough
got to
and
give it some
tough and
thought.
strong and mean.
Are you going to use analytics? I mean, I don't understand how this is going to work.
Symmetry of their face.
How many ex-girlfriends do they have?
How well they did with the ladies.
Ex-wives.
Brad Pitt's good defensive run saved.
yeah. Vorp.
Yeah, right. Let's go to headlines, shall we? And we'll get back to the NFC East in a bit.
Guys, we were not guaranteed to get it last night at Arlington, but we got it courtesy of a 2-out walk to Juan Soto. Paul Skeens against Aaron Judge.
Chops the first one that he sees down to bone. Will go the short way to finish off this inning. We got to see it, and Skeens made it a short visit. Libby loves it, and America probably starting to love this guy right here.
Just one pitch. Joe Davis called it on Fox. Judge bouncing out to third. Skeens, the Pirates rookie righty, did not strike out a batter in the first inning, but did reach 100 on the gun a few times, including that pitch to Judge. The good start for the NL continued when Shohei Ohtani clubbed a 3-run homer in the third, but AL pitching shut them down the rest of the way. Red Sox center fielder Jarren Duran's 2-run homer top 5 provided the 5-3 final. So that's 10 wins in the last 11 All-Star games for the junior circuit. A's closer Mason Miller got the win. Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase got the save. All the way back now to Skeens and starting his first All-Star game.
It was cool to be on that mound. Just being able to share this with my family and have them out here and just being able to experience it. I don't know that there's one moment because it was 2 days, packed with moments.
While the Niners deal with Brandon Aiyuk, the Bears took care of their business yesterday, signing Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze to their rookie deals. The top pick getting a fully guaranteed $39.4 million over 4 years. That includes a $25 million signing bonus, which he apparently gets all in one shot. The receiver gets $22.7 million over 4. His signing bonus is $13 million. U.S. women's soccer is off to Paris for the Olympics after a scoreless draw with Costa Rica in a sweltering Washington, D.C. last night. The Chicago Sky, a 93-85 win in Vegas. Angel Reese, 13 points, 10 boards, her 16th double-double in 17 games. And we briefly mentioned this last hour. If we know one thing, we know not to mess with Cameron. The rapper hosts the It Is What It Is podcast in Vegas, and Coach K walked past their set the other day and didn't stop when Cameron tried to talk to him.
Coach K gonna walk past us. I said, Coach, act like here.
All them Duke jerseys we bought.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so
make me do an investigation on Coach K behind that. You know, we're doing It's What It Is investigation. All them banks you got in North Carolina, I know what's going on.
Okay, so the co-host is Mace.
Yeah.
That's the other male voice in all this. It sounds like they're kidding about investigating Coach K's banks in North Carolina, but maybe they weren't.
Coach K got mad banks in North Carolina. Zion to Grant Hill to everybody on Crystal Lake. He been putting it through his banks, so it looks legitimate. Everybody left. I signed off for us. And he been paying for years before the NIL. Think I don't know. I know about you, Coach. If we got to do the Is What It Is investigation on you, I'll send down to Chapel Hill.
So I think this makes more sense if instead of banks, he says accounts.
Right.
And that's where Coach has all these accounts spread out, and he's funneling money through them to players. And I'll point out as well that the other two people left him alone as he went down this rabbit hole. Of
Literally
Coach.
walked off the set,
Yeah.
I think.
But yeah, I think we've all assumed a thing or two that not all Duke recruits go to Duke for $0. But there's Cameron calling out Coach K.
I think it's just interesting that he mentioned Zion a couple times.
Yes.
Like maybe they had a conversation or something, but maybe not. Maybe it's just the last big Duke player that came to top of his head.
Zion was 19, right? So he missed NIL by
like a year.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like nobody, like those scandals have no heat anymore. Like nobody cares that you paid anyone because now they get paid. But let me just take
He did say Grant Hill and Christian Laettner too.
He did.
Right, Mason Cameron were Duke fans before. Is that they said they had jerseys? I thought everybody hated Duke. Like
I think they're probably just making it like, maybe they had worn a Duke jersey. I have no idea.
Probably
Well, no, it
Zion
sounds like
jerseys.
Cameron's like a Duke fan. That's how I read that vibe. Like
he's from New York. I don't really know what his basketball affiliation is. I think that this just is a lesson. Just definitely stop and take a photo with Cameron because he's
No matter
definitely,
what.
Yeah, he's definitely talking to athletes. Because here's the other thing, right? I mean, it's baseless. It's just speculation. All that stuff. We're just having a little fun with it. But don't you think they must, like, everyone was paying everybody, right? Do we just sort of forget that? Or am I just being cynical? You think people really go to Duke for the love of the game?
I mean, that's
what we were told.
Was there a study that 75% of the SEC was like getting paid in the 2000s?
Right, but my point is, we don't think any program actually was above this, right?
No.
Absolutely not.
The losing ones.
Yeah,
the ones that didn't win were following the rules.
Well, I don't think after NIL and now they're going to be professionals, they're going to get paid. Like nobody is ever going to go back and care anymore. That was a big thing, yeah.
But Coach K is above reproach. No one ever links him to any of this stuff. So maybe.
But even
Cameron's
if he
just
did
talking out
pay
of his
players,
butt.
I don't think that's not going to ding your legacy anymore, is it? Like would that ding his legacy if he paid Zion Williamson?
Well, I think if it came out that Coach K actually was funneling money to recruits starting in the early 90s, I do think that stays with you a little bit. No one's going to take him out of the Hall of Fame or anything, but yeah, I think a little bit.
Well, I mean, but the way it works is like Coach K's not really funneling direct money. Like it's not going to come from a Coach K account. I can't imagine. Like that's not
okay. But even if you have the plausible deniability, or even if it's not specifically him, if he's signing off on it.
What was the UCLA name? The guy from
yeah.
Like if we find
Big
out that
Daddy or something like that, I
Duke
can't
had a
remember.
guy like that was just.
I think nobody would care. At all.
We'd care for for a few minutes and then move on.
What was that guy's name?
We'd want to know the particulars of how they got the money.
And Maggie would keep going down all different conspiracy theories for months afterwards.
I'd have to quit.
I don't think you would get the heat. I really don't. I think it's done.
Sam Gilbert.
There it is.
Yeah, Uncle Sam.
But I think the one thing with Coach K where he'd get if the extreme was true, that there was this really orchestrated through the Cayman Islands money laundering thing. Because he was always so high and mighty, people would probably enjoy the ability to rip him down a little bit.
I agree with you.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
So Camera and Mace,
Cameron,
those guys.
Yeah.
Coach K walked by them and they got upset, so they bashed him on the air.
Just Cameron.
Yeah.
So
Mace wanted no part of it.
Mace didn't want any part of it.
No.
So
he is a minister, so I don't think he's talking ill of people.
Oh, I would think so too. So, but why? Just by walking by him, it's Coach K. I mean, relax. You're a Duke fan, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you have a shrine to Coach K? It happens. That's celebrities.
Yeah, I think he's a famous person, though, so I think he probably just felt a little ego bruise. Has that ever happened to you where somebody has denied you a photo and you're still going to like them, but it is a little bit of it does hurt a little bit.
Many famous and many unfamous people have done that to me.
You want to go to who's the most famous person you asked for a photo and they said no?
I don't know. Well, I missed the photo opportunity with Paul Rudd.
That doesn't count.
Right. Well, you were attending to bigger matters. So
window smashed.
Yeah, someone had smashed.
I
the
actually
windows
made a
of your car.
decision after that guy outed LeBron because when some person on the street tried to take a photo with LeBron and LeBron said no, and that guy sort of put out the information where LeBron was in the city so anyone could go find him. I decided I'm never going up to a celebrity and asking them for a picture again. Because everyone's like, an adult man, my friend Quincy said this, an adult man should not ask another adult man for a photo.
But what if it's someone who you really admire? It's like, it's coming from a good place.
100% no rule. I'm never doing it again. Because, you don't know, because just like this, Coach K might have been busy and who knows what was going on with Coach K. So you create this really terrible situation that is unfortunate. So I think I'm out
so
on that.
So it's Cameron's fault for wanting the photo.
Well, I'm just saying you don't know.
That seems a little crazy.
You just don't know what's going on with Coach K. So just don't ask another grown man for a photo anymore.
I'm going to tiptoe around this very carefully. I don't know that Coach K should know who Cameron is. Therefore, I don't know that Cameron should be surprised that Coach K didn't stop for him.
Right.
Coach K, by the way, has a reputation he's all business. He might stop for a more famous person
Right.
too.
It's like Belichick walking out of the tunnel in Detroit. That meme that goes around where he doesn't shake the kid's hand.
Right.
I mean, he's old focus. You know,
Yeah, right,
Coach
right,
K all focused on. He retired years ago.
I just think
probably
that
focused on like getting a smoothie or something.
Getting onto the Bellagio floor to get to the tables.
You
No.
play the tables, play some craps.
I should reach out to Cameron, though, because Coach K did break my heart as well.
That's right.
Right here, right outside this door to my left.
he wouldn't take a picture with you.
So when I was with John Feinstein, the very beginning of this network, we had a long-running joke because John has known Coach K since he was just Mike Krzyzewski.
Right.
We had a long-running joke that Coach K liked me better than he liked John, and Coach K actually called in one day and picked up on the joke and talked to me, not John.
Wow.
Fast forward, 18 months, Coach K is here pushing a book. I go up to introduce myself. I say, I used to work with John. Blank.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Didn't remember it. Yeah.
Zero recollection. Not a thing. I have a picture of me and Coach K in a Feinstein book as a joke, but he had not even a single memory of this thing, which is saved in all of my different cloud files. I can never lose it. There's like 8 backup copies of this Coach K prank call to me, and he has nothing for it.
I mean, that I can kind of understand.
That
How
one
many
hurt.
radio interviews is this guy doing?
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't just a radio interview.
Well, also, he could just play along. Oh, huh.
Right.
It's not like he's ever had to fake an interaction
You'd
before.
think he'd be better at that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, he could just say, oh, right.
Yeah, great. Oh,
hey, look who it is, this guy.
Let's keep in mind, he does come from the Bobby Knight tree, and that tree is not exactly the most friendly tree in the world.
Yeah, I don't think Coach K is a cuddly guy in any sense of the word.
Well, wait till this gets back to him.
Yeah,
He'll know who Cameron is now.
Even
up
by the
floating
way,
around the internet.
So they're playing this My Wish where this kid goes to Duke. It's like on ESPN 24 hours a day. John Shire is the nicest man in the building. He's so nice and warm and friendly. And then this kid who's actually on the road to recovery meets Coach K, and Coach K could not be more wooden. It's interesting. Like, he's so stiff. And John Shire is like, don't worry, he's just like that. Like, Coach K is not fun. Like, John Shire would have sat down with Mace and Cameron for 20 minutes. I think
he definitely knows who they are.
Yeah.
Shire, that's more in his wheelhouse, just age-wise.
But I don't know. Do they reckon you follow that podcast? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not sure I know
hilarious.
what like Mace looks like now. Does he look the same?
He came to SI, and he was an aspiring sports broadcaster years ago.
No
and
way.
he came to SI, and we
What
did.
year was that?
Let's see. I left in 2017. He probably came in like 2016. Gosh, was that long ago?
But
No,
he was
might have been
like he was
17.
just gone for a while, right?
So he was like trying to be abroad. Now he is doing sports. He came into SI. We did like a whole. Remember Perloff, our show we did football, Pro Football Now.
Yeah.
He was a guest on that. He sat in through the whole show. We did multiple segments with him, and he came in a suit. Like we weren't really sure what to expect, and he was ready to go. Big
Camera, right?
Patriots fan, apparently.
But like, what year was his number one hit? Like
Horse and
1996,
Carriage,
right?
Probably 96, 97.
That's 27 years ago.
Okay,
So
well,
Coach
we don't
K,
have to rub it in.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying, Coach K. Like, if it was 1997 and he's
Who
sitting,
else was peaking in 97? Also Coach K.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, listen, Coach K with those bags. Come on, this is not gonna.
Oh, wow. A young Bogusch is now on the stream. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network, and on my X handle at Maggie Gray. Short hair.
Kaplan found the clip.
EJ's asking, was he in Deliverance? Cue the banjos.
Wait, Jake Bogusch?
No, me.
You, young Bogusch, young
oh.
Andrew Bogusch with Coach K.
Oh, I thought
Coach K's
I thought
hair,
Jake was
same
on the chat.
color.
Yeah, he has the picture, not the video of
Just
why
the
we were not
photo.
recording the show back then.
Yeah, Jake was just born around then.
All right, Mo Money, Mo Problems, July 15th, 1997.
Well, that's Mace.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Well, that's what I was asking. How long ago was the Mace hit? So, like, it's been a while. They're not exactly.
This is Bogusch and Coach K. Coach K, the fact that his hair has never changed color is a real marvel of modern science.
I've aged since then, but not Coach K.
No, he looks the same.
Yeah. Coach K is what, 77? He looks. I saw him in this video. I'm like, oh my God, he looks exactly the same health level as he did in 1997. It's
The
crazy.
hair's getting darker.
Yeah. He's definitely, good for him. I don't know why he's not coaching. He seems like he could be out there, right? He's blowing right by a camera on.
I
It's
thought,
just like
thought he was going to take
super
the Laker job.
Yeah.
He wishes he had. We have time for one more.
I got nothing left to give you.
There you go. We did it all. We get to the NFC East. We have to continue breaking that down, not because we have to, we want to. Also, Dabo Sweeney at the mic recently, yesterday, I guess. It's not ACC Media Days yet, but that doesn't stop Dabo. He's got a warning shot for all of college football. Is he on base or off it? We'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew.
In the world of sports talk, under digital skies, lives a fan named Ostrich Eyes 87 with a heart twice the size. He logs on to Twitch where the streams flow like dreams to catch every word from the man of his means.
Moist pork so delicious. Fashion icon, always ambitious, rocking the threads, fresh and clean, styling on the scene, living the dream. Loves Twitch, not YouTube. Always dancing, never in the mood. Live streaming with 1 million views, sipping on success and paying his dues. Loves Baltimore, city of his heart, representing, playing his part, but hates bad callers, ain't no doubt. Gotta stay fly, that's what it's about. Tube, watching Maggie Perloff, getting in the groove. Found a viewer in the chat, his name's Dalton, I'm Brian. Spitting fire comments, he's the #1 fan. Got his fingers moving, stepping non-stop, dropping all the knowledge, never gonna fly. Dalton, I'm Brian, he's the king of the chat. With his love for the show, there ain't no doubt. Every episode, he's always in the mix, leaving comments for the host, he's got the tricks. Dalton, I'm Brian, he's a YouTube star. With his quick comments, he'll take it far. I've been sitting in my room, scrolling through the tube, watching Maggie and Perloff, getting in the groove. Found a viewer in the chat, his name's Dalton, I'm Brian. Spitting fire comments, he's the #1 fan. Every episode, he's always in the mix, leaving comments for the host, he's got the tricks. Dalton, I'm Brian, he's a YouTube star. With his quick comments, he'll sitting in my room, scrolling through the tube, watching Pine Needles, wakes up at dawn, coffee brewing, screen turned on. He's got a favorite show to see, the Maggie and Perloff Symphony. Oh, Pine Needles are tuned in tight to Infinity Sports Radio every night. Maggie and Perloff, your daily delight. In their words, you find your light. From highlights to the breaking news, every take you can't refuse. In the chat, he's always there with comments, questions, wisdom to share. Oh, Pine Needles, you're tuned in tight to Infinity Sports Radio every night. Maggie
NFL this morning. Let's get to some college because a lot's going on. We'll do SEC Media Day stuff in just a bit. But Dabo Swinney was on one yesterday. He was warning the rest of college football, and I guess all sports fans, that the college football playoff expanding is not just going to be this great free-for-all, Perloff, for everybody. There's going to be some unintended consequences, according to Dabo Swinney. Can we hear cut 3, please, Pete? This is the Clemson head coach.
That's really what everybody's goal is, and I think that is what will change gradually within the psyche of college football as it expands, and probably will expand more. Is it's going to become all about the playoffs, which is fine, but I think there's probably unintended consequences for that too.
Okay, so what are these unintended consequences that he's worried about? First, he says guys on teams that are out of playoff contention are going to opt out, not just for bowl games, during the regular season.
Probably, as we see guys opting out of bowl games and things like that, you'll probably see some guys, if you're 4-4 and probably out of the playoffs, probably see some guys head off to Arizona and train. It's probably an unintended consequence.
Okay, so that someone on a 4-4 team who's going to the NFL is just going to completely, tap out on the rest of the regular season and going to go train. More Dabo on the warning shot of unintended consequences with the new expanded playoff. He said the new playoff mindset could hurt end-of-season rivalry games.
Maybe you're 11-0 and you got that rivalry game. But, you play your biggest foe next week in the conference championship, and if you win that game, you're going to get a bye. So those are things that are probably decisions you'll see play out all throughout college football, and which will probably, affect traditions and things like that. But, you got decisions to make.
Okay, so he uses the NFL as an example of this, like how the questions come in, Perloff, sometimes at the end of the season. Should you rest a guy? Should you play a guy? Because it's not just about your season, but about your opponent's season. They could be playing for something important. He uses the Ravens as an example.
Like you see in the NFL, the Ravens are in the playoffs. They got it locked up, right? They got the bye or whatever, and, they got one more game that really means nothing, right? Because it's all about the playoffs. So do you play Lamar in that game? And that's probably an unintended consequence in college.
Okay, so this is Dabo's fears. Number one, you're going to have guys who tap out on the season at like 4-4 when they know the college football playoff is not going to happen, and they're just going to quit on the season to start training for the NFL. And two, end of the year, whether it's rivalry games or for playoff seeding, if guys are making business decisions, then it could impact the rest of the bracket. Are these real fears, in your opinion, something that college football should be worried about?
100% no. This is old football coach shakes his fist at the clouds. I don't know what the heck he's talking about. This might affect 1 game, 2 games, and even if all that he played out is true, there's just no way this is going to have this kind of. What are we talking? Like, maybe there's 1 game where Georgia sits Carson Bank. Is that like a 1 game against, Vanderbilt? Is that a reason to change the entire system? Like, what's he talking about? There's no way it's going to affect his team, by the way. Unless he starts taking transfers, he's not going to be undefeated sitting there. No, this is a zero issue. There's nothing there with Dabo Swinney. Once again, Dabo Swinney going against the tide of everything happening in college football. There's just not. I'll bet you there's not a single coach who takes this up. I think he's going to be alone on an island, and it's once again him being unique.
Yeah. See, here's the thing about Dabo. I think that he's right about this playoffs or bust mentality. And before, when it was only 4 teams, you really can't quit on the season because only 4 teams are making the playoffs. So if you're a team that's 4-4, I think you're going to still keep playing even if you're an NFL prospect. I could see now maybe if it's 12 teams and it's just so much about the playoff, guys who are going to be opting out. But again, that's what comes along with player empowerment. And if that's better for the player, then it's better for the player. I don't know if their NIL deals, though, are tied to them finishing a season at least.
How many guys do you think are Nick Bosa are good enough to sit out a season? Like 4?
We talked about, remember, Jadeveon Clowney sat out the season when he came back for South Carolina.
A lot of guys had, like Micah Parsons sat out the COVID year, but that's a different, like we're talking about 3 players and maybe 2 games that are affected. Like, who cares, right? That's like, how many college football games are there in a season? How many players are there? This is such a small slice. Like, this does not, anybody who argued against this new system, I think 12 is probably better than 4. You'll have a more fair playoff. Like this, is anybody going to pick this up? Do you think this will be a cause in any way? I'd be shocked.
Maybe not, but I think that he's going to end up being a bit prophetic in that I bet it will impact some seeding down the line where, say, you're Georgia and you're already wrapped up and you've already got your first round bye and you have one more game to play at the end of the year. And if you decide not to play Carson Beck and to sit half of your defense or whatever to get ready and your opponent like wins, and maybe that helps their seeding, which could screw over another team. Like, I bet that ends up happening. I don't know how often, just probably about as much as it happens in the NFL.
I think it's going to be a real thin line. You think Georgia can afford a loss? I mean, so it's a
new world now, so it's like the NFL.
They're going to change the format next year, right? Like, there's going to be multiple formats. Yeah, I don't think that Georgia's going to so easily be able to absorb a loss right before the SEC title game. Like, I really don't think this is going to have a big impact at all.
Well, I'm not saying big impact. I wouldn't be surprised if this happens, just like how it does in the NFL. And sometimes we'll say, in the NFL, it's like, wow, are they going to play their starters, maybe for a half or something that. And, it will be a talking point.
Though? Like,
it might not be a big one, but it will come back.
Does it bother us that when the NFL does that?
Well, because sometimes it can affect another team, right?
So it does bother you? Because it doesn't bother me. I could care less if the Ravens did. Like, the overall strength of the product, like, obviously the NFL is doing very well. And they're going to expand to 18 games. Like, this is going to become a much bigger issue in the NFL.
Yeah.
And again, it's not really a deal breaker. I'd be surprised if anyone picks up this cause with Dabo.
It's not going to be a deal breaker. By the way, the deal's done. So there's no deal to break. Like, we're not putting the genie back in the bottle here. It's only going to get bigger in terms of the college football playoff expanding.
I mean, the reality is the college football season going to feel huge this year? Yes. Is it going to feel more huge than last year? Yes, because that's how college football is on a huge upswing. Every year feels big. Just because some teams are maybe sitting one game, no, I don't think this is going to have any impact. And you have to admit, Sweeney is way different than everybody else. Like, his views on things are different than almost every other coach.
Well, definitely the transfer portal. But, it's not working so far, but I do kind of understand where he's coming from, which is you make a commitment to me and I'm going to make a commitment to you as far as a prospect coming out of high school. It's like, I won't have a wandering eye if you don't have a wandering eye. It's definitely different. It's, again, as I said, it's not working right now.
Well, it's different in the sense that you're not going to be like in the championship game anymore.
Right. I mean, I guess so.
Seems fine with
as
that.
Far as a philosophy, though, I do understand where he's coming from. It's like, all right, well, everyone's trying to do this sort of basically free agency at all times, frenzy. Yeah. I actually want to, take guys out of high school. I want to develop them. I want to keep them here. And I ask that they reward my loyalty with loyalty of their own. It's not like they don't have NIL. The guys are still getting paid. It's just, are they reaching the top of the market? Maybe not.
Well, the problem is if you're a college athlete, you have an incentive to transfer because you can reset your NIL deals. And you're likely more valuable as a junior than you were as a freshman for most guys. So you have a financial reason to go out on into the transfer portal, which I guess is a problem, especially a problem for coaches, not a problem for players.
Well, but here's the thing. On the professional level, it's totally different. But I'm saying on the professional level, when guys take a little less to stay with their team, we praise them.
Right.
And I get college players have been so disenfranchised from that aspect. Get every dollar you can, get every cent you can. You might be setting yourself up for the rest of your life if your pro career doesn't happen. But that's essentially what he's kind of, I'm not even saying it might be less. He's just asking for loyalty, right? He's saying, don't go to the open market, just stay with us. I can wrap my brain around it as a philosophy.
Right. But by definition, because everybody else has to play by these other rules, like, it's not going to work. Like, he's just going to fall down the ratings every year. It's very curious. Like, if they go to, if they kind of falling down the ACC, if they go to the SEC eventually, seems to be some writer on the wall, they'll get slaughtered if they don't change their philosophy.
Brett McMurphy is going to join us later on in the show. He wrote a big piece yesterday for the Action Network that addresses that very situation about Clemson and about Florida State who are members of the ACC right now, but are also embroiled in a lawsuit to try to get out of being a member of the ACC. Meanwhile, the SEC, and we expect the Big Ten next week when they have their media days, are saying, no thanks. We're not open for business right now.
Interesting. Is that legal talk or real?
That will happen at 9 a.m. Eastern. Coming up next, it's Wednesday around here, which means the great debate. Here's a hint. It has to do with baseball and movies and general awesomeness.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
We got wide receivers demanding trades. We've got agents for other wide receivers saying, no, I don't want to trade. Brandon Aiyuk wants the trade. Davante Adams allegedly does not want the trades. We got plenty of sports stuff going on today, but it is Wednesday, which means everything gets put aside at this time, and we do something called The Great Debate.
The Great Debate Series.
All right, today we take, America's pastime. Inspired by last night's All-Star game, Perloff, we are debating the greatest fictional baseball player of all time. We could debate the greatest actual baseball player of all time. Where's the fun in that? The greatest fictional baseball player of all time is the topic today. You lead us off, bro.
Okay, I try to be clever here. I try to think outside the box, but why am I going to turn down the natural? It's got to be Roy Hobbs. He was the Shohei Ohtani of the 1930s. He could do it all. He struck out the Whammer, the Babe Ruth character. Unfortunately, got shot and missed most of his career, but came back, and he was basically Shohei. He was the best hitter baseball had ever seen, and he was the best pitcher. We only saw one season with him. He might have pitched the next season. We don't even know. Nobody had more talent than this dude. Everybody could give the better character, whatever. There's not a single better baseball player, pure baseball player, than Roy Hobbs.
The natural. It's hard to say that he's not, but I have a better one. I have a better one for you because we're talking about the greatest fictional baseball players of all time. I've got somebody who captured the imagination of 1989 America in a way no one else did. Rick Wild Thing Vaughn came from the California Penal League, Perloff, to closing out the final game of the ALCS and helping the Indians win the pennant, now the Guardians.
Yeah.
And an out-of-nowhere story, a rags to riches, the underdog. He exemplified it out of any of the players in the movie Major League. Rick Wild Thing Vaughn was the standout. He stole the show. Yeah. And imagine having that kind of rookie. It's like the Fernando Valenzuela effect. It's just like you're the whole country. Paul Skeens last night. You're just captivated. And with the stuff he had when he was hitting 101 on the radar gun to blow away.
That's nothing now, but yeah.
Sure. 1989.
Mason Miller just hit 104 last night. But okay, he's the third best reliever. He's the third best fictional reliever. Is he as good as... Well, I guess Nuke LaLoosh was a starter, wasn't he? How about La Flama Blanca?
This is like
Kenny Powers.
Mariano
Who would you rather
Rivera.
have? Kenny Powers made multiple All-Star games.
Listen, I don't know if Kenny Powers is going to make this list. I can't trust Kenny Powers.
I just say Rick Vaughn. Do we know he had staying power? He might have had Tommy John the next year. I just think from a baseball standpoint, you're taking a big risk on a hard-throwing reliever, Maggie.
Tommy John, he didn't have the innings logged to cut for
Not
Tommy
yet.
John.
Not yet. No. I mean, you really want the flame-throwing closer. We're building a team here.
He was basically Mariano Rivera with a better haircut. Rick Wild Thing Vaughn is the greatest fictional baseball player of all time.
See, he wasn't. That's the thing. He was not smart enough to throw the cutter. He just came with the straight gas. He was out of the league in 3 years.
And where was Parkman? On the bench, right? Thank you. Andrew Bogusch, you want to go next, or should I split this up a little bit?
No, let me go because for your wild thing to be the right kind of wild, he needed leadership. He needed maturity. He needed someone to get him in the right direction. That's one of the reasons why Jake Taylor, the catcher on those Indians teams, is the greatest baseball fictional character ever. The toughness to play the toughest position in sports, the humility to bunt and then hustle to first base in one of the most significant cinematic baseball moments that we have, plus a skill set that I don't possess, able to take Rene Russo's dress off with one move of a cleat.
Yeah.
Put all those things together and give me Jake Taylor.
He was in the Mexican League before this.
Yeah, I mean, bit of a journeyman, Bogusch.
That's fine, but he was always there. And I didn't even mention when it was needed, he was a manager as well, and a successful one at that.
He's basically Bruce Bochy. You took the Bochy character.
He's got a big
catcher. Yeah.
I don't know how Mrs. Bochy handles.
I mean, listen, did you see him run in that movie? It was painful.
But his knees were shot.
But he got there.
Honestly, I think you guys both might have taken the wrong player from Major League. I mean, Roger Dorn was probably a better baseball player than both those guys.
No, he got paid, and then Dorn got lazy. And
but there's a reason he got paid. He was
Olay.
so talented. He was so good. He had many years of successful production.
Let's go to Peopleati as we're doing the great debate today, which is what is the greatest, who is the greatest fictional baseball player of all time?
He went from a player to a manager, and he managed in the All-American Girls Baseball League. He inspired his players while being a fall-down drunk. It is Jimmy Dugan. If I could play the clip. Now
It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. The hard is what makes it great.
You're not getting that from anybody else, that he inspired the Peaches to lose in the World Series. So Jimmy Dugan is my...
It's amazing also to go, you didn't go with the no crying in baseball clip. You went with the Dottie Henson. He says, you can go back to Oregon and have 100 kids.
All right.
But I think that, again, I'm being the critic here, kind of a real person, though. It's based on Jimmy Fox, right?
Yeah, but it's
Hall
Jimmy
of Famer.
Dugan.
All right. All right.
No Jimmy Dugan.
Well, we wonder that about the Dottie Henson character and
Yeah,
the
like
League of Their Own.
Loose affiliations.
Are they, I mean, I guess everyone kind of is. It's also a real
Well, no,
upset
there really was a Dottie Henson.
There was.
Though.
It's an upset by Pete to go to the one movie that really highlights women playing a game and pick the only man.
Yeah. Because he can only see Tom Hanks.
All right.
Tom Hanks is great in that.
Tom Hanks, in terms of the movie, I think he was one of the guys that helped us recognize the All-American Girls Baseball League.
You're absolutely. I'm just kidding. Also,
also sounds like Pete to pick a manager and the best baseball player of all time.
So Pete. Also gave some great advice. Avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan.
That's right.
Ryan, the greatest fictional baseball player of all time is who?
If we're talking about greatest peaks of all time, best baseball player, fictional, Henry Rowan Gardner. Just his manager couldn't even say his name, how good he was.
Hello, son. I'm looking for Henry Ruhlenfurter. Raffenboozer. Rosenberger. Gardenhoser.
Hey, way to go, Runner-Mucker!
Ruhlengruder. Come on!
He might not have been in the league long, but he dominated the one season with the Cubs, throwing 100 miles an hour, which was unheard of at the time, and he was
Especially for
locked
a
down.
10-year-old.
He was 12.
He was 12, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Perloff had a major issue with this.
Yeah, I mean, come on. That's performance-enhancing drugs. He's the Barry Bonds of this conversation.
No.
I'm not putting him in the Hall of Fame.
He just had like an extra,
Stiff arm.
Yeah, stiff arm.
Yeah, actually, in the production call, I said, "Wait, didn't he have a bionic arm?" And what happened? Like he had Tommy John or something, and they just wound it too.
Wait, you don't know this movie?
No, I think I've seen it on cable, but I don't know it well.
Oh, Candy's in it.
So it was not a bionic arm.
He broke his arm. He was in a cast. I guess his muscles healed way too well, and he became able to throw 100 miles an hour at the age of 12.
Threw from center field to home plate.
His ligaments fused.
No, I
in
know
the cast up like this. So he made like a catapult of his arm, but then he fell on a ball going back out to the mound in like the regular season finale,
That's right.
And he re-broke the ligament. So
You know
that's
this
what
is a movie, right, Bogusch? You're acting like
Wait,
this
what?
is history.
You know what the segment is, right?
Just called the plot. So
No, but you're the level of analysis here is much more than your
Because
normal.
I'm stunned that you've never seen this movie.
I think I've seen it on cable. He's a twin, right? Or
nope.
That's the other one.
Oh, yeah.
That's Little Big League.
Yeah,
Little
that's
Big League. Yeah,
That's when
Is
he
a
becomes
Cub?
the manager.
Oh yeah, when the kid becomes a manager and
Yeah.
puts himself in the lineup.
He's the
No,
owner.
he doesn't play. He's just the manager.
He's the owner, manager, coach. Yeah, well, manager is coach.
So there you have it. This is our great debate today, which is who is the greatest fictional baseball player or coach of all time. Now, Michael in California is upset, as he rightly should be. This was one I thought about, but I ended up going with Rick Wild Thing Vaughn. Benny the Jet Rodriguez could be the greatest fictional baseball player because of Sandlot. Imagine if you actually grew up playing stickball or Sandlot baseball with someone who ends up making it to the major leagues. I mean, that would be you'd never, I mean, we hear about Kobe Bryant from Perloff, and they were just by association.
Yeah, but we don't know how good he was in the major leagues. He could have been like a bench player, and he just had one lucky hit.
But he was sliding into home.
I
Did
see
he do
there-
the squeeze?
There are many Americans who grew up with playing little league with someone who became a pro. Basically, every pro had a bunch of kids. Right. Yeah,
I know,
you
but
make it
if that
sound like
was you, believe me, Perloff, if you grew up with Bryce Harper, we'd never hear the end of it. You'd be bragging all the time. Like that'd be a point of personal pride, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. But that's a great question. Just because they're a great character, I thought the whole category was who was the best player. Like who had because Jake Taylor was clearly, he's not even one of the top 5 players in the movie Major League.
Again, I'm going to start abstaining from this segment. Yeah. I asked the group, I said, how are we defining great? Because you could go in different directions. And it was dealer's choice was the answer.
I mean, this has devolved into who's the best player on Major League debate. Who do you think is the most talented? Because you mentioned Serrano. I mean, if you want the deep ball, Willie Mays Hayes. This is a great question.
Well, this is why I picked Rick Wild Thing Vaughn.
He was your star.
He's the closer.
Yeah.
He's throwing gas.
I think it's Eddie Harris. He has a rubber arm.
Yeah, I think
he's got the KY ball.
I think Willie Mays Hayes had a chance, so they changed actors from movie 1 to movie 2.
No, they didn't.
That was Willie Mays Hayes.
But just from a baseball perspective, to me, there's Roy Hobbs, there's Dottie, because she was a tremendous player.
Right.
And then Kevin Costner's character in Bull Durham.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But again,
Those
a
are the
minor
best
leaguer.
Players.
Yeah.
Well, Jack Parkman too.
Nah, he's too much of a no. He doesn't count.
And Hito from Rookie of the Year.
And Kevin Elster is not Kevin Elster in a league of their own, in a little big league.
But wait. You said the best players. You mean the best characters? Because those are not the best players. The guy in Bull Durham that had one at bat in the pros.
But he has doesn't he have a bazillion minor league home runs?
Yeah, but that's not as good as Mr. 3000.
So he's better than
3,000 hits in Major League Baseball.
I forgot about that.
He didn't even make the pros. That's what I've been saying. I understand what you're saying. It is dealer's choice on, but obviously a minor league player is not as good as a pro player. What about Kevin Costner's no-hitter movie?
That's true.
Billy Chapel?
Yeah. And what's Tom Selleck's background in Mr. Baseball?
That's right.
But he's in Japan, right?
But he's a great MLB player. He goes to Japan to keep. I'm trying to remember the plot.
I haven't seen it in a long time, to be honest with you.
It does not hold up well.
What's the Major League movie where the ball goes to the outfield and they start doing special effects so it starts to whirl around and
Angels in the outfield?
No, I think that was Major League 3.
Oh.
One of the characters.
That doesn't count.
Back to the minors.
Stunk.
He had so much spin on the ball that it got out of control.
Scott Bakula, right?
Scott Bakula and Back to the Minors.
It has to be Jack Parkman, though, because Jack Parkman, they bought Jack Parkman. It was so much of an investment, it caused Dorn to sell the team back to Marjorie Phelps.
Everybody knows that.
Come on.
It might be Mr. 3000.
Bernie Mac,
Bernie
3,000
Mac and Mr.
hits.
3000. I forgot his name in the movie.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, what was his on-base percentage, Maggie?
This is Perloff's.
Yeah.
Who do you say this about? Not Kirby Puckett.
Well, it's the famous statistical argument that Adam Dunn was just as good as Tony Gwynn because they almost had the same on-base percentage. Walk is as good as a hit.
Yeah, that one gets people upset.
Oh, it sure does.
855-212-4227. Okay, so you're welcome to weigh in here. The great debate today is who is the greatest fictional baseball player of all time.
Can I say the fake Scott Hatterberg in Moneyball?
Oh, what's his face from Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
And Guardians of the Galaxy, I should say.
That's right.
And Garfield.
I was not thinking that. He's the voice of Garfield?
I was.
Yes.
Love Garfield.
In the brand new one?
New one. And he's also Mario, so.
That movie I've seen a lot. Okay, so there you go. 855-212-4227 if you want to weigh in on the chat, youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network, and you can follow along as well on X. Just click on @Maggie Gray on the avatar, and you will see our beautiful faces pop up. Yeah. Okay, greatest fictional baseball player of all time. Nice job, everybody. Coming up, we have, I didn't know Tiger was capable of this. Tiger Woods surprised me yesterday. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining.
On the court at Duke, the game's on fire. Coach K's got plans, his aims are higher. But there's Mace Windu right on the side. Waves his lightsaber, but he's just denied. Oh, Coach K, won't you see? There's a Jedi waiting, oh so patiently. But you've got no time for galaxy fights. It's hoops and dunks that fill your nights. Mace Windu stands in his Jedi best, hoping for attention, but he's just a guest. Coach K, I've got force skills for your team, but Coach's eyes on the prize, living his dream. Windu's puzzled with his saber so blue. Wonders, is my force not strong enough for you? But Coach K's playbook's all he can see. Not even a Jedi can shake his spree. Oh, Coach K, won't you see? There's a Jedi waiting, oh so patiently. But you've got no time for stars or the sky. It's basketball drills that keep you spry. So Mace just shrugs, guess he'll depart. Coach K's too busy coaching with heart. On the court of life, you pick your play. Sorry Jedi Master, maybe another day.
.45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Great Debate Wednesday. Greatest fictional baseball player of all time. Call us with your nominee, 855-212-4227. I went with the natural, Roy Hobbs. Maggie?
I went with Rick Wild Thing Vaughn.
From the California Penal League.
An amazing closer, a rookie sensation. Bogusch went with Jake Taylor from the same movie, Major League. Pete went with Jimmy Dugan.
The great home run hitter.
And Ryan went with Henry Rowengarten from Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, just call him Rookie of the Year.
What's that? Well, that's
Don't
his
call
name.
him his real name. Yeah, but nobody knows his real name, do they?
Oh.
Henry Rowengarten.
There you go. So obviously we left a lot of them for you if you want to weigh in. I'm seeing this from Christopher in the YouTube chat. Steve Nebraska from the Scout. Switch hitting pitcher with power in the 110s. First ever in MLB. He hit a home run and threw a perfect game.
What about Nuke LaLoosh? Are we underestimating him?
He's a minor leaguer.
Well, yeah, but he was headed toward the pros. He was young. Once he learned how to control his pitches, he got to the pros by the end.
So Kevin's also in the chat said Willie Mays Hayes from Major League.
Yeah, that's what I think. We could almost do who is the best all-around baseball player in Major League as a side debate.
James says Kenny Powers.
Yeah, La Flama Blanca, definitely.
I don't know. Kenny
He
Powers.
was an all-star, unlike yours. I never saw Charlie Sheen in the all-star game.
Well, I think they skipped that part of the season, but I'm assuming Paul Skeens he probably did make an appearance.
Yes, he was a phenom. I just think that he threw too hard. He was going to the operating table.
Oh, gosh. All right. So let's move on because you're welcome to weigh in, of course. This conversation never stops. Perloff gave you the number, 855-212-4227.
Wait. We got to take this call because this is a movie I legitimately do not know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go quickly to Adam, who's in Vancouver. Adam, the greatest fictional baseball player of all time is who?
Yeah, I got to go with the all-star first baseman, Lou Collins from the Minnesota Twins. The team fell apart when the manager benched him. Mind you, he had all the right to. He was sleeping with his mom. But I throw all that aside, I got to go with Lou Collins.
So this is the one where the kid bought the team?
No, I think
the kid takes over the team from his grandfather after his grandfather passed away.
Yeah. So it's an inheritance thing. You know who else in this movie? I was just looking through it. So Luke Edwards is the kid, right? But Timothy Busfield is Lou Collins, who you're talking about. So we love Timothy Busfield. Jonathan Silverman's in this movie. Jason Robards is in this movie. A lot of fun people in this movie. There you go. Adam, thank you so much for weighing in. We appreciate it.
Was it Brewster's Millions? I know Bellatti's seen that. Richard Pryor, he bought a minor league team and played himself, as I recall.
He was a Cubs fan.
Yeah, he buys the Cubs, right? How many million does Brewster actually have to spend? Because nowadays it probably feels like not that much.
He had to spend $30 million in 30 days in order to inherit $300 million from his great uncle.
Right.
Okay.
So he was a minor league pitcher, and then he turned the Brewster. Actually, no, that's his name. He turned his team into like a big deal. There was a train track going through center field, right? That was the big joke.
Yeah.
Such
a great movie.
That was pretty old, 1985. There are a lot of characters. Hey, about this Field of Dreams. So you couldn't do like Joe Jackson. Like I know he's a real person.
Yeah, so
not Joe Jackson. Shoeless. Yeah, Shoeless Joe. But if the fact that they're ghosts, doesn't that make them fictional? Like Moonlight Graham? No.
No, they're real players, and they acknowledge that they're real players. Like they act as if they're telling the same backstories and all that stuff. So no, this
Even
is
Moonlight
fictional.
Graham, was he real? Burt Lancaster's character? I think he might have been. I think there might have been a Moonlight Graham who got in a bat.
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, we're just going with fictional. Obviously, clearly fictional.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Jimmy Dugan was based on a real person. If it's that clear, whatever.
Yeah,
Just
but they
saying,
did the
Bilotti.
same name. There you go. You are welcome to weigh in, the greatest fictional baseball player of all time. Bogusch is here with headlines, and I hope we're doing the Tiger story here because this was amazing.
So, yeah, here is Tiger. About this time tomorrow, an hour or so later than right now, he'll be teeing off at the Open Championship at Royal Troon. The majors have not gone well for him this year. This is his final event of the season. Many wonder, I think including Perloff, why he continues to do this. Colin Montgomery, a fellow older golfer, wondering the same thing, why Tiger is even bothering to play this week. Here was Tiger's response when asked yesterday.
Well, as a past champion, I'm exempt till I'm 60. Colin's not. He's not a past champion, so he's not exempt. So he doesn't get the opportunity to make that decision. I do.
Whoops.
Ouch. I mean,
Good
that's
for him.
It's hitting him where it hurts because Colin Montgomery never won a major.
And obviously wanted to win the Open Championship in particular.
Yeah.
By the way, just because I'm pro Tiger playing forever. I'm like Tiger. I don't know why Colin Montgomery would say this. Like, what's his point?
Okay,
I don't
but here's
understand.
the question.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy watching Tiger right now? Not what happened in 2008 and 2009 when Tiger was unreal, but right now, is this a pleasurable experience as a sports fan to watch him play?
No, but it has not been. But he's the one player I want to watch at this tournament by far. It's not even a close second. Like I'm tuning in for him. I'm not. He's the first day guy I'm going to watch, right?
To see what though?
Because he has a shot here. Because this
You
is
said that at the last one.
Well, yeah, but he still has a shot.
I gotta leave.
I don't think he has a shot anymore. That's the thing.
Well, this is a tournament where, like, the British Open is weird, though. Remember, Watson came really close with 59. It's a strange. These are strange courses. Like, you never know. He could pot. I think Tiger. I still think, and maybe I'm not even in his 50s. I think Tiger will have a one-off tournament where it gets hot. I don't think that's such a crazy hot take. So yeah, who else are you guys gonna? You're sitting there. You really want to see Colin Morikawa tomorrow? I guess Rory's interesting, but.
I think
You say you don't enjoy it, but you're tuning in just like everybody else.
I'm tuning in, but I'm not tuning in specifically for Tiger anymore because I understand that would just be letting myself down. Like he has exemptions. He can do this until the end of time, and that's fine. But Colin Montgomery, while maybe, Tiger had the all-time clapback, so there goes that. But it's not like he was saying something that we all aren't thinking. You could say, well, maybe it wasn't appropriate for him to say it or whatever, but he basically told the press that it doesn't look like Tiger's having any fun out there, and Tiger's being delusional, thinking that he can compete for a championship here. And I think it's true. You mentioned Tom Watson or someone who's gotten close as an older age. Didn't have nearly the physical breakdown that Tiger's body has.
Well,
been
Fred
through.
Couples had a very, very famous bad back problem.
Yeah.
He made some good runs, specifically at this tournament.
But
like
Tiger's
real
had
good
back and his leg, and it's just so
Fred Couples
much.
could barely walk for a while. I'm just telling you, like, yes, all
Tiger
that's
couldn't walk.
Right, but did Fred Couples compete when he couldn't walk? Like those are these are now concurrent issues for Tiger.
Yeah.
We've seen it we've had this conversation before the Masters, before the U.S. Open, before the PGA Championship.
In my mind, that might change in some
He just
day.
physically can't do
he's
it right now.
48. There's a chance in 2 years his back will heal to the point where he's better. I'm assuming that maybe, first of all, the fact that the guy didn't play any tournaments and then made the cut at the Masters, like, imagine if he gets a little better. People do heal.
What happened after he made the cut?
Well, he came in last, but that's an incredible feat. To not play at all,
Okay, but here's the thing.
look at the guys who didn't make the cut. I think Dustin Johnson didn't make the cut.
Here's the thing, though. Just Tiger Woods just making the cut. I mean, this is not. He can play as long as he wants. That's fine. But this is not befitting of someone of his stature.
Right, but he might
have the you made the cut. We're talking about the greatest golfer ever, perhaps.
So you guys all want him to sit down, but he might get healthier. I mean, don't you think that's plausible?
I don't want him to sit down, but it's to answer Maggie's question, it's not fun to watch him limp around and then flame out of these tournaments. And if I'm watching him, I'm not watching because I have the expectation that he's going to win this thing. I just want to see if he's getting any incrementally better moving forward.
Right, exactly. But he's 48. Do you guys think he'll ever make another one-off run again like he did in 19 at the Masters? I think it's definitely possible.
I mean, there's not a zero chance of it happening, but I mean, it's as close to zero as possible.
I don't think it's very likely. What else is going on today, Bogusch?
Another reason to love Bruce Bochy unconditionally.
That's
the
right.
future Hall of Fame manager is now the second skipper to win the All-Star game for each league, joining Tony La Russa. Bochy oversaw the AL's 5-3 come-from-behind win last night in his stadium in Arlington. The NL did strike first, a Shohei Ohtani 3-run bomb to right in the third, but the NL never scored again. Boston center fielder Jarren Duran broke a 3-3 tie with a 2-run homer off Reds righty Hunter Green in the fifth, and then was named MVP.
All-Star game, first homer in All-Star game, MVP. Like, it is a first, and I'm just very thankful. I mean, it's hard to put into words. I feel like it won't hit me until I try and go to sleep tonight, but who knows if I'll be able to sleep tonight.
The AL has now won 10 of the last 11 Midsummer Classics. This one only took 2 hours and 28 minutes, the quickest since 1988. The Dallas Mavericks said yesterday that Kyrie Irving had surgery for a broken left hand suffered during a workout earlier this month. There is no official public timetable for his return, but Kyrie is expected to be okay for training camp in September. As far as we know right now, whomever is calling the Niners about a Brandon Aiyuk trade is being told that the wideout is not available. Aiyuk says he did request a trade with no talks about a long-term deal in the Bay Area happening. He is scheduled to make $14 million in the final season of his rookie deal. U.S. women's soccer played a scoreless draw with Costa Rica last night in D.C. First time in 18 meetings the U.S. didn't win. Now the team heads to France for the Olympics, and the New York Liberty hit the WNBA Olympic break at 21-4 after an 82-74 home win over the Connecticut Sun. Sabrina Ionescu scored 30 last night in Brooklyn. Mom, Dad, back to you. Yeah.
I saw this, and forgive me because I don't know if there's more behind it, but Sabrina Ionescu was asked after the game, are you going to compete in the three-point competition at the WNBA All-Star Game? And she was like, no comment. Like, she said it in a nice way, but why wouldn't she be competing in the three-point competition?
Which would be this weekend, and
Right.
then she goes to Paris.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, you got more eyeballs on you than ever, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to compete in that? You did it on the men's side when she challenged Steph Curry, and that was awesome. That was probably the high point of the NBA All-Star game.
Huh.
I don't know
no
if there's
idea.
anything more behind it, because she's clearly not hurt. She was awesome last night.
And, would there be some kind of weird, negotiations going on where she doesn't know if she's going to compete? Or
I have no idea.
But
I thought it was odd.
But what impact does her competing or not competing have on Caitlin Clark?
To find a way to get Caitlin into the news.
Are you, because what I'm hearing you guys say is you think Sabrina Ionescu is a better three-point shooter than Caitlin Clark.
Is that what you hear?
No, but cut that, Ryan, and we'll look at 7 million retweets. In fact, they're going to cover us on the news. Maggie Gray says Sabrina Ionescu more deadly from three-point range than Caitlin Clark.
Do you realize there's going to be an angry mob waiting outside for me?
They're
I
here.
wouldn't say that.
You could argue that, though.
What's that?
No, you could argue.
That's a fair argument.
Of course she is, right now.
You could say even for the career, you could.
Wait, is
Ryan, you're going to get in trouble, buddy.
Is Caitlin going to do the three-point competition?
I don't think anybody knows anything about this weekend except that it's Team USA versus the WNBA All-Stars.
Which I like. I think that's kind of cool. But anyway, I did have a good Caitlin Clark story for you. Did you guys see that someone is painting her her face on the hood of their car for the NASCAR event that's happening in Indy, the Brickyard event?
Yeah. Is it like a sponsorship or just out
It's
of
like an
fandom?
homage, right?
Or is it a sponsorship?
Let's see. Brickyard 400. Yeah, it's a Panini sponsorship. Hey, those are your people.
Love Panini.
Yeah. Panini America and Stuart Haas partnered up for a sponsorship and paint scheme featuring Clark on Josh Berry's car for this weekend's Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis. That's awesome. It looks so cool. Look, she's in her shooting motion on the hood.
In an Iowa uniform, right?
Yes.
Or is it a Fever uniform?
Iowa. Which is
There you
kind of
go.
odd considering it's in Indy and she plays for the Indiana Fever. But I get it.
Panini, the more valuable card might be the Iowa card. They're selling cards. That's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Bogusch. Coming up, we have a lot to do, including we play the best sound from the SEC Media Days yesterday. By the way, Texas taking the podium today, guys. Steve Sarkisian and company in a couple hours from now. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff. We're talking college football next.
You're in a 5-minute break.
kinda slow, but you're golden retrievers, ready for the show in the Staples Center. The crowd goes wild when they see your pup dribble. Man, that dog's got style. Park it up, shoot it up from the three-point line. LeBron's golden retriever, making Lakers shine. Oh, LeBron's cheering, his hair's a silver hue, while his furry MVP does what he used to do. Now JJ Redick's on the sidelines, wine in hand, coaching up the pup in this basketball land. Pass and cut and fetch it too. He says, who knew coaching a dog would be part of his days? LeBron's sitting back, his legacy's all set, but his dog's just started, the best Laker yet. Through the legs over tails, he jumps and spins, even got his own sneaker deal, AirPods that wins. Bark it up, shoot it up from the three-point line. LeBron's golden retriever, making Lakers shine. Oh, LeBron's cheering, his hair's a silver hue, while his furry MVP does what he used to do. So if you head to LA, you might just see a golden retriever making basketball history. LeBron and JJ sipping wine, feeling fine, watching a four-legged Andrew Perloff's got a tail to tell. Thinks he's an Aussie, but you can never tell.
Living life in 20-second views, scrolling through, he's got no time to lose. Maggie and Perloff, Daly's keeping score, YouTube's his love. He's begging for more, double tap, clicking on that video. Otis Miller, Tampa Bay, loves choreographed guys, he's on the chat, tuning in, where it's at, Infinity Sports Radio, playing all morning, dancing to the beat, feeling so right. Bogusch waves, he's got the road trip blues left behind.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining.
Bound to lose.
One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Let's turn our attention to college football, Pearl, because the SEC Media Days are happening in Dallas, Texas. So we're going to play a little sound for you from some of these coaches. we're going to play a little game that we like to play around here called Do You Believe It? All right?
Yeah, let's go.
The first Do You Believe It entrant is Kirby Smart, the Georgia football coach who alerted us all that Nick Saban has finally learned how to text people.
He has started responding to texts. And I told people the other day, I said, that's the first time ever, either somebody's got his phone or he's learned how to text. And that makes all of us in his little circle of friends proud because we get to reach out to him.
There you go. Do you believe it? Nick Saban didn't know how to text before.
You know, I think this story is basically true. I think that guy did not he had people around him at all times. I think that we'll probably get into this other story later. I think he's a guy who never did anything on his own. He always had people around him doing things for him. So I think it's true that he never texted.
I think this is something that if most people could tell anyone, I don't use text and I don't use email, like, wouldn't you love to tell people that? Wouldn't you love to tell your work, hey, sorry, I don't respond to email?
But if you're Nick Saban,
freeing.
you can actually do that because you're like the man.
The other part is I know Alabama got every recruit under the sun, but imagine if Nick Saban was texting. How many more recruits could they have gotten?
See, that I wonder. Well, no, I'm sure an assistant was just doing the texting, and then you bring in Nick to close the deal.
I'm sure. That is Kirby Smart. Do you believe it?
I honestly, I believe. I don't think he texted. I think he called. I know he called after the championship game and all that. I do not think that he texted. Are we going to do the credential here or later?
Why don't we do that later? Because there's more from Kirby Smart. He says falling short of the playoffs last season is not being used for motivation this year.
We're dealing with new challenges this year. We don't have a chip on our shoulder in terms of people trying to use that as motivation. I've never used a failure from the previous year as motivation, and I've never used the success of a previous year as motivation. We won't do that this year. That's not who we are. We want to recreate ourselves.
Do you believe Kirby Smart does not use last year as motivation?
It's a weird hill to die on for Kirby Smart. Yeah, sure, whatever. What's the difference? Yeah, I don't think Kirby Smart's held up on last year, if that's the case. It was almost like random that they lost last year. They were undefeated in the regular season and they got outplayed by Alabama in the SEC title game. Could have won the Final Four. It didn't feel like that loss lingered. I will say that. I don't feel like you look at Georgia and be like, oh, unfinished business. Doesn't feel that way to me. Does it feel that way to you, Meg?
I think if we were still dealing with a 4-team playoff, I think this would have been motivation and this would have been a bold-faced lie. But because now it's 12 teams, I don't think you use last year because he's right. It's a whole different set of circumstances now with the 12-team playoff. So
I mean, he lost to Nick Saban, who's leaving, in the SEC title game, who's gone. And there's like a whole new set of powers in the SEC. I don't think he's really focused. I think things move too fast.
Let's move on. We're playing SEC Media Days. Do you believe it? Here's Brett Venables. He is the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners. He says OU not intimidated by their move to the SEC.
I really don't know how to answer that other than we're excited for the challenge. As competitors, as a football program, Oklahoma, isn't intimidated as a football program. We're running towards the SEC. I think that goes without saying. We've looked forward for the last several years for this partnership to be a part of an amazing conference, the best conference in college football.
That's a lie because you got to be nervous going to the SEC. You can't be thrilled about this. Listen, your longtime rival, Nebraska, moved to the Big Ten and it obviously has gone terribly for a long, long time now. I don't know about Texas, but Oklahoma has to be nervous about this move. And if he says he's not, I just don't know.
This is a particularly tough first season schedule for Oklahoma, where you're on the road at Ole Miss, you're on the road at Mizzou, you're facing Alabama, you close out the season in Baton Rouge. This is not exactly a welcome to the conference, like here's a red carpet for you. It's going to be tough, but I actually think Oklahoma's not going to do badly in the SEC. I do not think that the same fate that befell Nebraska when they moved to the Big Ten is going to be anywhere close to what Oklahoma's doing. I mean, think about it. They won 10 games last year. This is a team that was coming off of multiple appearances in the college football playoff. Like, I don't see them drowning here in the SEC at all. I think they're going to hold their own. This will be a tough first season, but if you're talking about the future, I think Oklahoma's going to be fine. They're a blue blood program. I'm not worried about them.
I think it's going to be a little tougher than you think. I mean, they had 10 wins last year. They are not getting 10 wins this year. So, like, what's your expectation? So, when's the playoff happening? If you think about all the teams that are above them in the SEC, you sure they're going to be able to leap ahead of those teams anytime soon?
I mean, Oklahoma's always been able to field a good team. You're not worried about Texas. I get that because they just were in the college football playoff last year. But Texas has had way more ups and downs and a lot more downs in the last decade than Oklahoma.
Yeah, but Texas is way better shape now.
Well, right now, this is not a move for the next 5 years. This is a move for the future.
Wow, you're really optimistic on this because I feel like the day Lincoln Riley walked out of there, they faced an uphill battle to get back to the Final Four. And now they're in the SEC. Like, they got LSU, Georgia, Alabama, aforementioned Texas. Now
they were beating Texas a lot in that Red River rivalry.
That's not, yeah, but right now I'm saying, like, moving forward, there's very little reason to think Texas is so stacked. I mean, stacked. Yeah, I think it's going to be I think it might be a few years before they get back to the playoffs, and that's going to be disappointing because they were in it all the time before.
Let's get to more from SEC Media Days. Do you believe it? Can we hear a little Brian Kelly? Brian Kelly admits the LSU defense not good enough last season.
We had obviously a record-setting offense last year, but we didn't play to the standard that we needed to play at times defensively. And certainly that will be the goal this year.
All right, more from Brian Kelly. He says LSU is embracing the challenge to improve its defense to a championship level.
Challenge this year for us going into the offseason was to make the kind of strides to bring our defense up to the standard necessary to play for a championship.
Perloff, do you believe that LSU's defense will be to the standard of winning a national title?
No, not this year. I mean, they were awful last year, and that's why their team was so darn entertaining. Remember the Ole Miss game where nobody could stop anybody? So it's such a long road to be that good. But I was just trying to think about it. Like, Brian Kelly had pretty good defenses at Notre Dame, as I recall. So it's kind of weird to me that everything fell apart so badly on that side of the ball last year. I think he expects it to improve. That is too much to expect. There's, remember they have that kid Harold Perkins, who is a huge star coming in as a freshman. He is just an interesting cat because they're saying he weighs 220 pounds. He's their star defensive player. What position is that? That's like not big enough to be a linebacker. It's not big enough to be a defensive end. So they kind of build around him. They have other big players there. But, I think there's no way like they're going to get elite. Can you go from what you had last year to national title, like number one overall? That seems way too long a road for me.
Well, maybe you don't need it to be number one overall in order to win. I saw Brian Kelly's track record of his third year in a program has been one of the most successful that he's been any stop he's been to. It's like the third year is where you see the payoff. And I mean, it's such a glaring, obvious hole. I mean, you had the Heisman Trophy winner last year, and you go 9-3, and you couldn't capitalize on that because the defense was the Achilles heel. I do think it is going to be a lot better, and I'm expecting big things from LSU. If Grant Nussmeier is going to be good, why wouldn't we think Brian Kelly? He said he's got more buy-in this year than he ever has, and I think what he's referring to is that third year where he really gets his program sort of the way he wants it.
That's funny. I would think, they just lost the best player in the planet in college football. Like, they got to take a step back. 9-3. If they were 9-3 with Jaden Daniels, it's going to be tough. I mean, but then again, you're talking national title. Look at the SEC. I mean, you got Georgia and Alabama there. They're probably the fifth or sixth best team. It's going to be tough. I see what you're saying. That's a really interesting point about Brian Kelly's third year. But how can they get better when they lose Jaden Daniels?
Well, again, I mean, if your defense starts to carry their part of the load, then maybe you don't need someone record-setting, record-setting season that Jaden Daniels had in order to, be in the SEC championship.
But not only that, they lost 2 top 20 receivers.
Well, but it's LSU. I feel like, don't the receivers just sort of replenish?
I guess so. I feel like, those are pretty special receivers. That's a lot to ask. The defense better improve drastically because I don't think the thing about Brian Kelly, like, he doesn't have to win a title there right now. It's not 3 years in. It's not title time or bust, is it? I mean, because I don't think that's not the expectation this year. You can't lose a Heisman Trophy winner and expect a team to win a title.
It's interesting. Let's talk about the expectations for LSU. I'll agree with you. I don't think it's title or bust. I think that Brian Kelly did a lot for himself that first season when he went in and beat Alabama. I think that was a really big moment that made to the SEC championship game. I think that bought him a little bit of time where if anyone was skeptical about how he was going to fit in Baton Rouge, I was one of them. He calmed all nerves and fears about that. So I do think doing well and exceeding expectations that first year, I think definitely bought him a little bit more time. And then, you follow it up with the Heisman Trophy winner. So you're trending in the right direction here. It's definitely not championship or bust. I don't think we're that far off from it being championship or bust, though, because you have these expectations. And what do you think the LSU fan base is going to do? You think they're all of a sudden going to become less enthusiastic, less rabid, less demanding? Not at all. We know how this goes. It goes the other way.
You're absolutely right, but it is weird. How do you get out of this conference? You have how many top 10 teams are in this conference?
Well, you got 12 games, though, 12 teams in the college football playoff. So
right, but how many? Then you get into how many? Because Georgia and Alabama have a great chance to get in. Texas is a top 3 team this year. Missouri's a top 10 team. This is obviously Ole Miss is stacked. Tennessee's really good. That's 6 teams probably better than LSU off the bat, and it's just hard. So that's. Brian Kelly came down to LSU, and we said, oh, my God, you're paying him all this money. And is there a title expectation? But then you face the reality of you got Georgia and Alabama in this conference. It's I don't know. I just don't know if you could expect him to do this. Maybe he never won. And also, he never won a title in Notre Dame, too.
Right. And
I hear you. I think you're right. LSU fans are going to start to get antsy, but you can't lose Jaden Daniels, getting back to this, and expect them to get better. That seems like an unfair expectation.
855-212-4227. You are welcome to weigh in on the SEC, your expectations. I know we're on in Arkansas that we did not mention, obviously, with their head coach, Sam Pittman, a bit on the hot seat this year. We're on in almost all of SEC country, but I specifically wanted to call out Arkansas because I know that we have a following there. Let's get back to the Nick Saban story quickly. So, listen, I am not going to call Nick Saban a liar. I would never do that. I don't think that he is lying. I just found the story a little suspect that in Dallas for SEC Media Days, he tells a story to Mike Greenberg, because now obviously Saban's doing ESPN analyst work. He said it was the first time in his life he ever had to wear a credential, like a thing around your neck that tells who you are, because he couldn't get in. He got turned away at the door is kind of how he made it seem. He had to go back up to his hotel room to get his credential. And I just, did that happen that way? So Nick Saban hasn't been gone from coaching more than a few months. You don't forget who he is. He still looks exactly the same. All of a sudden, now the security guards are barring him from the door because he's no longer technically the Alabama head coach. He's still the greatest college football coach ever and one of the most famous sports figures we have.
How do you know those security guards are sports fans? They're just working in the convention center.
But it's SEC Media Days, right? So
again.
Okay, so in the how many years he's going to Media Days, maybe there were other security guards who are not sports fans who let him in without a credential.
I'm just saying, there might be an insurance convention at the same convention center tomorrow. They're not insurance fans. So and also it's Dallas. It's not, it's not Atlanta. So Dallas.
It's football in the state of Texas, Perloff. Don't insult the people of Texas like they wouldn't know Nick Saban.
But you could definitely, because we've been in many of these, but there's definitely a great chance that person had no idea who Nick Saban was. There could easily be a security guard.
Okay, but that could have happened also in the 15 years before this, and it never did.
I think that he has a much different thing going on now where he's probably wandering around on his own. In the past, he had his SID to his left and an assistant coach to the right.
He looked more important, you're saying?
No, he always had people with him who did all that. I don't think he had his idea. He always had a guy.
Right.
That's what gets back to the texting argument. There was always somebody to do everything for Nick Saban. He had this gigantic department around him. You think Nick Saban, they didn't even let him do his own stuff. Now he's, I
saw,
the king. Yeah,
Prince?
I saw Ross Dellinger, our former colleague at SI, did a story where they were following around Nick Saban, and everyone's like, this is surreal. Nick Saban's sitting next to me eating a ham sandwich in the media room. Like, he's in a whole new world, Maggie. I'm not surprised at all. It's like a former president going to a store and trying to order lunch.
I know, but you don't think ESPN had anyone with him, a producer, or somebody? Like, it's not like ESPN's this upstart company.
I don't know. I think they were like, all right, Nick, you're
See at the pre-production meetings at 10.
Apparently, that's what happened.
Again, I'm not calling the coach a liar at all. I think that's kind of crazy. Anywho, 855-212-4227. Maggie Perloff reacting to SEC Media Days. Coming up, more college football for you. Brett McMurphy broke a story yesterday that the SEC and Big Ten are saying no thank you to Florida State and Clemson for now. Get the details next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Peter Bellotti, he made a prediction, said that he gonna win. Celtics got no conviction, but now he's hiding, running away, won't own up to his words, can't face the dismay. He thought Miami would rise like the sun in the sky, but now he's got excuses, got no alibi. He thought the Heat had it, it was a sure bet, but they couldn't handle Boston, not just yet. Peter Bellotti, where you at now? You made a bold choice, but where's your wow? Can't stand the heat in the kitchen, your predictions cold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. Oh, Maggie Gray on the radio waves, talking sports and scores and the games we crave. But when she's done with touchdowns and three-point shots, she dives into conspiracies and connects the dots. Oh, Maggie Gray, with your wild theories, you make history sound like a daytime series. From grassy knolls to the sea,
I was just got a blue filter, thought it'd change my life, spent some good money.
Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
College football, Perloff, it's in the air. SEC Media Days going on now. We're going to get the Big Ten next week. Got the ACC. We got so much to do. And someone who's been breaking some news, not surprisingly, is Brett McMurphy. He's a college football insider with the Action Network, and we're so delighted to have him on the show. Brett, Maggie, and Perloff, thanks so much for the time today. How are you?
Hey, good to talk to you, Maggie. It's been a while.
I know it has, and glad to see everything's going well with you. And you know, this meatball landed yesterday, and thank you for it. The Florida State would likely not have a spot in the Big Ten or the SEC if they're successful leaving the ACC and the ACC stays intact. Now, that's a lot of like letter salad there, but I think there was an idea, at least from the fans, that if Florida State and Clemson are successful in exiting the ACC, that the SEC and the Big Ten would be waiting there with open arms. And your reporting is saying that's not true.
Yeah, Maggie, and that's part of the reason that I reported this is because I think the perception was that there was this automatic bid almost for both schools to the Big Ten, if and when and if they get out. And, the past few months I've been talking to, different folks throughout college football, presidents, conference personnel, ADs, TV execs, people that are in the know, no offense, but I'm not talking to coaches. And basically it wasn't 85%, it wasn't 90%. 100% of the people I talked to said, no, that is not the case. And I referenced the as long as the ACC stays intact part because that's really the only way that they can get into the SEC or the Big Ten. If they're the only two schools that get out of the ACC, they're not getting into the Big Ten or the SEC. But if through their lawsuits, through the legal system, whatever, if a judge determines the grant of rights is invalid, there's no grant of rights, and all these schools in the ACC are able to get out scot-free or for a very small amount of money, then the Big Ten's going to expand to 20, the SEC goes to 20, the Big 12 goes to 20, and I don't know what's left of the ACC because then North Carolina and Virginia would actually be the top two targets of both the the SEC and the Big Ten. And then basically, a couple of sources told me at that point, it's like choosing in a draft. Your biggest competition, whether it's the Big Ten or the SEC, gets a couple schools. Well, then you want to kind of match that. And so that's kind of the only way they get out. So that's why it wasn't more definitive, like they're not going to get into the SEC or Big Ten because there is a path there. But if they're the only two out, they're not going to get out. And then probably your next question, and I don't know the answer, what are they going to do? I don't know. They're not leaving the ACC to go to the Big 12. So this will kind of be fascinating to see how this plays out.
Brett, you quoted a source saying that Florida State is a disruptive partner. Why would Big Ten? It was a Big Ten source.
Yeah.
What makes them disruptive?
Yeah, well, Andrew, it's basically, in the past, I think, 12, 15 years, we've had, I think, 16 schools that have moved into a power league or changed power leagues. And all 16 of those schools went through the usual procedure. You notify the conference that you're leaving the league, and then you've got a, home waiting for you. Well, Florida State did not do it that way. They're suing to get out. They got the attorney general involved. There's a lawsuit they filed where they accused former Commissioner John Swofford of basically cooking the books so that his son could get a sweetheart deal with Raycom as far as the TV rights. This really does not sit well with a lot of university presidents. And, I had multiple people tell me this, and it's like, they're like, well, if they're going to do this to get out of the ACC, how do we know that they're not going to do this to us somewhere down the road? And I think while most fans probably think, well, that's really not that big of a deal, it's a big deal to the university presidents, and ultimately they're the ones that make the decision on who to add in realignment.
Brett McMurphy is joining us as college football insider for the Action Network. Got a big piece up now that you can read about the future of not just the SEC and the Big Ten, but the ACC as well, and how Florida State and also Clemson would play into that. The concerns about FSU, though, and them being sort of malcontents or doing things sort of a different kind of way or a messy way, if you will, trying to leave the ACC. I thought it was weird when one of your sources said that FSU doesn't add any value to them. How is that possible? If you're the Big Ten, don't you want to get into Florida? And, FSU, I imagine, is still got to be a pretty big draw. How do they add no value?
So here's the issue with that. And, ultimately they do add value. They would add value to the Big Ten. But here's the deal. You've got 18 members. So now you're bringing on 19, and obviously if you bring 19, you got to have 20.
Right.
They don't bring enough value that every school gets more money than they're currently getting. Like basically the pie grows a little bit, but everybody's slice of pie is a little bit smaller. So are they going to add Florida State and everybody is going to take less money? Because now you got 20 mouths to feed. You don't have 18. So that's what I mean by that. It's not simply, Florida State would bring value. They don't bring enough value that they're worth what the Big Ten will distribute, I think, $80 million, $90 million during this TV deal. They don't bring enough value that number would increase to 85 or 95 million. So that's kind of where that's at. And
hey, Brett, sorry, just a follow-up for you there. Yeah. Sorry, just because FSU is also one of those teams that I think is wading into the private equity waters, right, where they're trying to get private equity investment. And not to get too in the weeds here, because you're talking about media rights deals, right, and that's how they slice up the pie. If you have private equity coming in, is that a way that FSU could increase their value without having to make it a smaller slice for everybody else?
Yeah, so basically, they could do that, but here's the deal, Maggie. Florida State is not suing the ACC to get out of the ACC to then get private equity to fund their athletic department for the next 10 years so they can get in the Big Ten. They're getting, in theory, they're getting out of the ACC so they can go to the Big Ten so they can get what they believe they're worth, is $80 to $90 million a year. The problem is they don't increase the value per school in a conference that already has 18 teams. That's why, a couple of sources I talked to said, look, we added USC, UCLA, and then the only reason they added Oregon and Washington is because they got Oregon and Washington basically for 50 cents on the dollar. Oregon and Washington's shares are about 50% of what USC and UCLA got. Now, that'll ramp up to full shares after a number of years. And so basically that's why Florida State doesn't bring – there's only one school out there that they would add right this second, and you know who that is, the Golden Goose, Notre Dame.
Yep.
So anybody else is not going to increase the value. And, technically if Florida State wants to do a deal like SMU did to get in the ACC and say, hey, we're not going to take any revenue for the next 6 years, then sure, I'm sure the Big Ten may listen to that. But are you – you're suing a league to leave the league because you're not making enough in revenue, and then are you really not going to take any revenue for six years or so so you can get into a different league? I mean, look, anything's possible today in college athletics, but I think ultimately that's not their strategy.
Brett, is there any discussion? This may sound silly in July. We're all talking football. Is there anyone in the SEC who's like, wow, we could take a stranglehold of basketball and go for North Carolina, Duke, Virginia? Is that even in the discussions or in the air in any way?
I wouldn't say it's in the air. I wouldn't say it's in discussions, Andrew, but you're dead on. And so here's the thing. The SEC is fine at 16. And Greg said this Monday. He said it multiple times. They could go till the end of time with 16 schools. But if the ACC implodes and all these guys can get out for scot-free, and then the Big Ten goes up to 20, and then the SEC would react, they would go up to 18 or 20. Absolutely. North Carolina and Virginia are the top two targets of both the SEC and both the Big Ten. It's not necessarily a basketball play. It's more you're getting a two schools in two states that they're currently not in to expand the footprint, get two new markets. And also they're both AAU schools, the highly rated, academic standard. So those guys would be the ones. If they did get to 18, who would be their 20th pick? Could it possibly be a Duke? Could it be a Virginia Tech or an NC State? Nobody knows at that point because it would be chaos. It would be scramble. It would be similar to when the Pac-12, teams were leaving the Pac-12 and, Big Ten's picking up some, the ACC's picking up some, the Big 12's picking up some. But, yeah, they're not simply going to grab those schools because right now, according to the ACC bylaws, it costs hundreds of millions of dollars to get out of the ACC. So the SEC is not going to do that. And plus, the ACC is not going to do anything unless the school officially announces they're leaving a league and they give their notice to leave the league, because if they do, they'll get sued for tortious and interference, and that's a big hassle. And again, there's no school out there worth doing that, not named Notre Dame, which obviously they're not in a conference.
Brett McMurphy is a college football insider for the Action Network. Got a big piece up now about the future of these conferences and really just this sort of, kind of getting the reporting and saying it that the SEC and Big Ten are not interested right now in Florida State and Clemson. Last one for me, Brett, and it's about the ACC. We're on an ACC country. I'm sure there's probably some fans that are nervous there. They saw what happened to the Pac-12. Who is this in ESPN's hands? Like ESPN will have a date soon, February 2025, where they decide whether they renew their deal with the ACC for like the next 10 years. I know that they're not the only media entity out there, but what is going to determine whether or not the ACC survives past next year?
I think it's not simple, but it is simple. It's when Florida State, whenever these judges that are looking at all these different lawsuits concerning Florida State and Clemson, when they basically rule on what exactly it would cost Florida State to get out of the ACC.
Right.
And if it's hundreds of millions of dollars, which that's what the ACC is standing by, you signed a grant of rights, not once, but twice. It goes through 2036. And if you're held to that, it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. So you can give us your notice and you can leave and pay up. If they somehow rule that the grant of rights is not legal, not valid, whatever, and you can just walk out the front door scot-free, then everyone's going to, the top tier will follow because they know they'll have homes in the SEC and the Big Ten. So basically, if you're an ACC fan, you want the ACC to win these lawsuits. You want the grant of rights. You want the exit fee to remain at several $100 million, because then, Florida State, Clemson, they'll pay the money and they'll get out. But nobody else is going to do that. So that's basically what they're doing. And that's why, as far as all these legal proceedings, that's why the ACC is taking a page from their former great coach, Dean Smith. They're basically in the four corners offense. They're stalling. They want it, everything that comes up, they want it to take as long as possible, because what they don't want is they don't want to get to the point where Florida State knows what the number is to get out, because once they do, then Florida State officially starts the process of getting out. So it's kind of complicated, and this isn't something that will be resolved quickly. But again, it was just all the noise was that they've got an automatic home here, and that's simply not the case. So again, it's college athletics. Something could change overnight, but right now that's where we're at.
Brett, got to sneak in at least one on-field question. Texas and Oklahoma arrive at SEC Media Days. How do you expect them to do on the field this year?
It's funny. A lot of people are picking Texas to compete for the SEC title. Oklahoma's kind of middle of the pack in the SEC. I think they're going to struggle. And by struggle, I'm not talking 6-6, but I don't think either one's going to compete for the conference title. And it's nothing against Texas and Oklahoma. It's just going from the Big 12 to the SEC is a massive leap up. And like in any one-game scenario, anybody can beat anybody. The cliche, anybody can win any given Sunday or Saturday. But when you're playing a 12-game schedule, 8 games in the SEC, and the teams that you're playing every week, that's going to take a toll. And Texas and Oklahoma have never experienced that before. And so I think that's going to wear on them. I think they're going to have multiple losses. I think, in fact, everybody in the SEC will have multiple losses. With the bloated conferences we have, it's great for fans because we're going to have some monster TV games, but it's not good for the schools' win-loss records. And in the last, I mentioned the last 15 years or so, we've had 16 schools that have changed conferences. Only 3 of the 16 that went to the new conference had a winning conference record. So it doesn't mean OU and Texas can't do that, but I wouldn't be shocked if they struggle because it's a different beast playing in the SEC, especially when you're seeing these teams every week. And I just think the schedule is so much more difficult than they've ever played being in the Big 12. I think ultimately they'll get there, but I think year one, it's going to be a lot tougher than maybe people are expecting.
Brett, can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Brett McMurphy is a college football insider, the Action Network. You can read his piece right now. It's up. Go check it out because it's interesting about the future of college football. Thank you, Brett.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
Okay. Appreciate that. You thought Texas was just going right to the title game.
I think Texas is going to enter the season probably as 2 or 3 in the country. I mean, that's really interesting. I mean, Oklahoma, Oklahoma's got a 7.5 win total. Nobody expects anything out of Oklahoma, but Texas, that's very interesting. I think a lot of fans, as Brett said, a lot of people are picking them to compete for the SEC. I've not heard anyone that down on them. That is really interesting.
Coming up next, we continue our breakdown of the NFC East. We're doing every NFL division before training camp starts in earnest. Don't move. We're talking about the Cowboys next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff. Pete, what is
Chromio,
this musical
you.
theme today? Are we doing like kind of 80s? Is this from a movie?
No, this is Chromio. This is a Maggie's pick.
Right.
Chromio.
Chromio.
You don't know Chromio?
No.
I'm just kidding. They're kind of niche.
Oh, what kind of band are they?
It's two guys. Yeah. Two guys who do dance music and funk.
Jeez Louise, that sounds
One
terrible.
guy, his brother's name is A-Track. He's a famous DJ. Maybe you know
That's
him.
his.
It's the brother.
That's his God-given name? A-Track?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
He's Canadian. That's just
Where's
what they call people up there.
Look at these guys.
Yeah. I met one of them. Very cool people.
Give us a call, 855-212-4227. We need some more fictional baseball players. I feel like the great debate today, we do every Wednesday, is who's the greatest fictional baseball player of all time? There's got to be something that we're missing. There's just been a million baseball movies. I feel like there's a great player out there that we've just... Do you know who we missed, Bogusch?
Well, you already mentioned him, and if we're going just on baseball resume, Stan the Man Ross...
Mr. 3000.
Mr. 3, that might be the one.
Well, I was talking with Pete about it. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's quite sad. It's not like a Yeah, it's
right.
like... It's actually a bummer of a movie. If you don't mind me saying. He needs 3 hits to get to 3,000.
Yeah, but doesn't he learn the lesson of he was kind of a me-first player his whole life,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he realizes, or his whole career, and then he realizes he actually sees the value in a team? It's got like a very heartwarming, uplifting message.
And who's his super hot wife?
Angela Bassett.
Yes.
Right, but we don't
She is
feel like
beautiful.
we don't see him at his peak, so it's hard to call him a great baseball player.
But his peak is Hall of Fame player. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
3,000.
Mr. Brewer.
Is he better than Roy Hobbs?
Longevity-wise, yeah.
Okay. All right. Give us a call anyway, and there just feels like there's somebody we're missing.
We
There's
should
been a
refresh this.
million baseball. I went with Roy Hobbs, Maggie.
I went with Rick Wild Thing Vaughn. And by the way, our pal Andy Staples covers college football for On3, texted us just to say Rick Vaughn. Wild Thing. He's Mariano Rivera from the California Penal League.
He just wanted to utter the line California Penal League.
It's so good. Bogusch.
Let's begin with the story that has rocked.
No, you went with Jake Taylor.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought you were throwing to me. I do want Jake Taylor.
Botcher went with Rookie of the Year, and Pete, in only a way Pete can, went with Jimmy Dugan.
Well, it's not like I picked a golfer.
But he doesn't play baseball in the movie. In the movie, he's just a manager.
He does.
I like it, Pete. You have such a great affinity and just a respect for
Tom Hanks,
for coaches and coaches and managers.
Well, he does. They go to the Hall of Fame. They have the big plaque for him, and they say his home runs and that he passed away. Yeah. He played.
No. I know the character played, but in the movie, he's not a player. We only see him manage.
So what?
We know he was good.
Yeah. So what?
They tell us.
Right, he was good. That's the whole premise of this whole thing. There were no rules. That's why I went that way.
He had no cartilage in his knee. Can't shoot Nazis.
Right.
Trigger finger work, though.
Didn't he fall out the window because of that? He fell out of the third-story window.
Oh, here's an interesting nomination from Twitter. How about Kelly Leak from Bad News Bears? Because, talking about a 5-tool player.
Yeah.
He might be the most dominant Little League player. He's kind of like Bryce Harper.
I was thinking the little girl in Bad News Bears was really good too, right?
Why?
Overcame a lot, only girl on the team.
But I can't get Bull Durham in. But we can get Little. We're getting
not
Chico's bail bonds.
We're not ESPN. We're not putting the girl in over Kelly Leak. Did you see how far he hit that ball? Am I going to get canceled for saying that?
No. They're just going to shoot 1,000 laser beams at you.
That was Tatum
Perloff's
O'Neal.
gone tomorrow, just know that some of the suits just hauled him out and threw him in a garbage can.
They give you millions of dollars for ripping them over there at ESPN.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
Yeah. If I had Pat McAfee's career, I'm in good shape.
Can you punt? So who are the other fictional baseball players that we are left off our list of the great debate?
So it's a picture of a guy named Butch Hedo in a New York Mets helmet.
Hedo.
Oh, okay. That's who you guys are talking about. I guess I don't know this movie, Rookie of the Year.
From Rookie of the Year, yeah.
Pete, before the show is over today, can we just get your Mount Rushmore Tom Hanks movies? Not right now. Think about it. Too hard.
You're going to go down this rabbit hole? All right, I'll give it to you.
How do you pick your favorite kid?
I want it almost presented without comment.
Wait, is he your favorite actor? I did not know.
My favorite.
Can we do it just presented without comment? When there's 20 seconds left in the show, just boom, 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 boom.
I will.
Okay. And then
you only get 4, Pete.
Well,
he knows what a Mount Rushmore is.
No, Bogusch, you know what I'm talking about.
No honorable mentions.
First movie I ever saw was a Tom Hanks movie, The Burbs.
Okay, well, don't tell us whether or not that.
Also, the last one I've seen.
In a million years of the 200 Tom Hanks movies, I would not have picked that one.
No, I get it. Pete and I are the same age.
Right.
Yep.
The Burbs?
I'm surprised it wasn't Joe versus Volcano,
That would
but
have
it
been my
also
guess.
could have been The
That
Burbs.
was next, I think.
Bogusch, we're ready for your headlines.
Oh, now you are? Okay. Well, speaking of Pete,
Sports.
this has rocked his world, at least. The rest of you might not have known that the Arena Football League was back in general. They've played an entire season. Friday, 2 days ago, was supposed to be their championship game between the Albany Firebirds and the Billings Outlaws. That game was scheduled to be played at one of the most infamous malls in at least Northeast history, and not the entire United States. This facility that's been in existence next to Giant Stadium, MetLife. Xanadu. I don't know what it's called now, but it was like 3/4 built, and then they left it there for like 2 decades. Recently finished it. There's like a water park inside.
Indoor ski slope?
Indoor skiing, and apparently they can host an Arena Football League game, except they're probably not now because this league is in significant financial issues because the CEO was stealing money, allegedly, from another employee. So that CEO has been voted out, and they owe so much money to this mall now that the mall has said, you can't play here Friday. So the Albany Firebirds and the Billings Outlaws, if you've got some grass available, they need a place to play and decide a title on Friday.
Wait,
or
hold
next
on.
Saturday or any Wednesday in the future.
Hold on a second. Hold the phone. We got a very important. This impacts our show in a very important way.
Hilarious.
What, are we broadcasting from Radio Row?
Yes. No.
We're building Radio Row.
Can't go to Jersey on Thursday.
We are part owners in the Albany whatevers. No. This actually impacts our show because
Yeah.
I can say it, right?
Yeah, but what's happening there? Do you know what's going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, I can send a couple text messages, but we are supposed to have the commissioner of the Arena Football League on the show tomorrow because it's the one and only Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, and Jeff Fisher has that job because the original commissioner of this league was fired before the game started because 2 franchises folded.
Wait, who's running this? Shohei's interpreter?
So they brought Jeff Fisher in to salvage things.
Well, good, but here's the thing. So one guy, the president of the league, the commissioner, was stealing money from an employee.
The CEO of the league.
Pardon me.
Yes.
The CEO of the league. No, not the commissioner. That's Jeff Fisher.
Yes.
That's right. He's coming tomorrow. He's not done anything wrong.
Well, I'll tell you, before I forget, though, he was supposed to be on a different show on a different network yesterday and was pulled last minute. So I wouldn't bank on Jeff Fisher being here tomorrow.
Oh, I have so many questions for him.
Especially now.
Now I gotta just rip it up. Now it's just everything I planned.
What possible questions do you have for Jeff Fisher?
Dude, I
have so
laundry
many
list.
questions.
What exactly do you do here?
No, that's for Nick Sirianni. He already got asked that.
Are
No
they-
one ever asked Jeff Fisher, what do you do around here?
Are they Rams questions? Are they Titans questions? Like what? Where are you going? Is it mustache related questions? Like how do you keep that thing so
Vibrant, everything under the sun. But how did they know some guy was stealing from another guy's like bank account?
It says credit card. I don't know if he was using someone's credit card or what, but yeah, credit card fraud. But then this guy, and I don't understand why exactly, but in part of the mall's objection, this guy Chris Chetty was missing meetings prepping for the Arena Bowl because he's not allowed to enter the U.S.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah. Now, again, this is all coming from a link that Pete sent me, so I can't 100% vouch for the legitimacy of this entire story and all the details. Yeah, but Chris Chetty is not allowed into the U.S., therefore he has missed meetings and I guess payments for Friday's Arena Bowl, which no longer has a home.
With Dan Snyder in international waters somewhere trying to avoid litigation?
I don't know.
I am volunteering to be the CEO of the AFL.
I would take that back. I don't know if you want to do that.
The league could play the game this Friday in Albany instead, or at a different date in Billings, or they could host it in Nashville next Saturday.
Let's play it across the street at the park.
Or they could just not play it and we would not even notice.
Oh, my goodness. What a disaster.
They were promoting the hell out of this whole thing.
Well,
we almost bought a team.
Right.
To be fair, this is probably a fun thing to do with the kids. Like the Arena Football League, it's a lot of scoring. Didn't Kurt Warner play in it?
Go down a water slide, see a touchdown.
That's cool.
Did Kurt Warner play in it 33 years ago? That's what you got?
The fourth incarnation.
Was that your third question, Jeff Fisher?
Who's the next Kurt Warner?
Who's the Kurt Warner? Yes, actually.
Wait, I love that you go, Pete sent me a link, so I can't verify this yet. What was the source of this link?
He barged into the studio like the Kool-Aid guy. Did you guys hear the AFL story?
I'm glad he told us.
Can we say what Maggie responded to that?
What'd I say?
You're like, you mean like the union?
Right.
And I said, I thought the merger happened in 1970. What are you talking about? Al Davis's?
No, the third AFL. Not the union, not the football league.
And by the way, why'd you say
the
Bogusch?
auto workers or whatever?
Why'd you say
not the auto workers? The AFL-CIO,
yeah, the biggest
Jimmy
union.
Hoffa.
Yeah. No, that was Teamsters. But regardless,
Teamsters.
Why'd you send us all this famous link to this unnamed link?
Because I'm the newsman.
Oh, yeah. Bogusch was going to do the story.
So I've been Googling this guy, Chris Chetty. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot going on here.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, hopefully we still get to interview Jeff Fisher.
No chance. That's not happening.
Honestly, normally I will not go along with it if there's ever any stipulations on an interview. Like, oh, you can't ask about this. I'm like, no way. We're not doing it. We have integrity around here. But if they were like, you can interview Jeff Fisher, but no questions about the Arena Football League, I'd be like, I'll still do it.
Can I mention why this makes me really laugh? It's because somebody around here is involved in this whole thing. Can we mention that person?
I mean, go ahead. If he was here, he'd be
Peter
front and center.
Who do you think booked Fisher for us? I don't
yeah.
want to say anything because P Peter Schwartz was nice enough to include us.
He's the liaison apparently in this whole thing.
He's doing PR for them.
Yeah.
Another example of the issues they're having is Peter Schwartz is doing their PR out of his basement in Long Island.
Singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at a softball game, and then going to do that.
Honestly, guys, joke's on all of us when Peter Schwartz becomes the number one crisis PR person in America. If they handle this well, and all of a sudden Peter Schwartz becomes like the Winston Wolf of this whole sports.
Francis.
I'm picturing Peter in his basement with like 3 phones on his shoulder. Fax machines going off, emails beeping.
Bobbleheads going up and down.
Looking for comment on the disappearance of the AFL.
Oh, my God.
Did you guys know Jeff Fisher was technically on the 85 Bears, by the way?
Was he a water boy?
Yeah, he played for the Bears.
Yeah.
But I've heard this, like, I think he got hurt that year and was not in the Super Bowl. So he was a Bear. So I'm going, when Maggie unloads her fastballs on Jeff Fisher,
I'm just curious.
I'm going historical. Yeah. We're clearly not allowed to do AFL. So they're going to be like, what's the topic? I'm going to be like, well.
Who's got a better mustache, Jeff Fisher or Ditka?
Yeah.
If he comes here tomorrow, everyone's getting steaks.
Okay.
From who? From you?
Yes, because he's not coming here.
Yeah,
holding you to that.
He was the Music City Miracle, right? That was Jeff Fisher. Yeah.
I've got a lot of questions.
So those are your questions? I mean, come on.
Listen, we'll talk about this before the show. Hopefully he does come in.
Is he supposed to physically come here?
Yeah, he's in studio.
Oh, chance.
He's supposed to go here and on
We should
fan.
send him a list of questions, and they should all be about like 1994.
The most random games ever. Week 13 of 2001.
You played the Cardinals.
You didn't punt.
You got questions about this mall.
No.
What was your mindset? That's the only way anyone can ask a question these days in the media. What was your mindset?
Could you talk about running on 3rd and 4, down 6 with 90 seconds left and a timeout in week 7 of the 1999 season?
Tell us about it.
I bet he'll remember.
Yeah, coaches are funny like that. Probably he'd go 9 minutes on. He's like, well, you have to understand, Maggie, the wind was coming on us that day. If I had punted,
that thing wasn't getting past the 30.
Yeah.
Tell us about the art of 7 and 9.
Yeah, I've got him pegged for. I don't remember last week, so I got nothing on you for week 4 from 99.
And also, when he coached, everybody punted all the time. Nobody went for anything. So
no 2-point conversions. No going for it on 4th down. It's a different time.
Nobody was aggressive back then.
What else we got, Bogusch?
We know the timeline by now. A year ago, Paul Skeens was the number 1 pick in the MLB draft after pitching at LSU and the Air Force. Last night, he started the All-Star game for the NL, the first number 1 pick to be an All-Star the following summer, and the first rookie pitcher to start the game since Hideo Nomo back in 95.
I don't think I blacked out when I was out there, but I was pretty close.
Skeens tossing a scoreless first.
I mean, obviously the joke, same with the singer from the other day, too.
Skeens tossing a scoreless first, surviving a 2-out walk to Juan Soto by getting Aaron Judge to bounce out to 3rd. And then, unlike some others, Skeens stayed all the way until the last pitch.
I was in the dugout for a good portion of it, and then I went under and ate and that kind of thing, and I was eating with a couple, other all-star pitchers. So the only time I'm going to have this opportunity, is today with this team. So I just wanted to, kind of get as much as I could from them.
He watched the NL take a 3-0 lead on a Shohei Ohtani long ball in the 3rd, but then he watched the AL get 3 in the bottom half of the inning, and then Jalen Duran's tie-breaking 2-run shot in the 5th. 6 AL pitchers shut out the NL over the last 6 at-bats for the 5-3 decision. A's closer Mason Miller got the win. He threw 8 pitches over 100 miles an hour, one of them 103.6, the fastest at the All-Star game since at least 2008. Bronny James is not the only draft pick struggling in Summer League. The number 2 pick, Alex Sarr, missed all 15 shots he took last night. I could do that. As the Wizards took on the Blazers in Vegas.
Get out of here.
Are the most shots without a make in Summer League since at least 2017. It would have tied for the 2nd worst shooting effort in regular season history.
This is not just the worst draft in NBA history. This is the worst draft any sport has ever had in the history, except for Schefter. This is like unbelievable.
This is the worst non-war draft ever.
I mean, honestly, Bronny James probably is the 55th best player in this draft, and that is not a good thing.
Speaking of his Lakers, they are reportedly hiring Lindsey Harding as an assistant. She just won G League Coach of the Year for leading the Stockton Kings. Harding played at Duke like J.J. Redick, and she was on the Sixers staff when Redick played in Philly. Lastly, from the basketball world, Joe Jellybean Bryant has passed away at 69. He apparently suffered a massive stroke recently. Kobe's dad started at LaSalle, was a first-round pick by the Warriors, then traded to the Sixers, had a great career in Europe. He coached in college and the pros, including being the head coach of the LA Sparks. His relationship with Kobe was not always great. Vanessa Bryant said in a statement yesterday, quote, "We hoped things would have been different. Although the times we spent together were few, he was always sweet and nice to be around. Kobe loved him very much."
So he was around our basketball games all the time because Kobe, I went to the same high school. I brag about it all the time. Before Kobe got there, for some reason, Joe Bryant came to every game and was the life of the party. He reminded me of Charles Barkley. Like, he's so funny, unbelievable, so different than Kobe. He was just like, he would walk up and shake anybody's hand, where Kobe was a little shyer. Great. I thought he was an incredibly nice guy. But it always struck me as odd that he didn't get along with Kobe. That was kind of sad. Yeah. I bet you Kobe was pretty intense.
Price of fame, Well,
and even, normal fame. Imagine being Kobe Bryant, the most competitive human being on planet Earth.
I remember Kobe once, he was upset because someone in his family, I don't know if it was specifically his dad or mom, but they were putting things for sale, like part of some of his items. And I think that he had said at one point that, just money really got in the way, and they had to try to take money off the table in order to have a relationship. And I don't know if that was specific to his dad necessarily, but just with family.
Yeah. Also, he was like a pretty good player, right? He wasn't he was an impact player, as I recall, 6-man. Like, not like a total nobody of himself.
Yeah.
He was kind of famous in Philadelphia. Like, I was like, oh, that's, even before Kobe was famous, like, oh my God, that's Joe Bryant. Remember him, old Sixer? So, yeah.
And a star in Europe, right? I mean, like, he was a big deal when he played there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a 6-man in the NBA, you should be pretty good in Italy.
U.S. women's soccer played its Olympic send-off game against Costa Rica in D.C. last night. They played to a scoreless draw despite dominating in possession and chances. Their first game in France is next Thursday against Zambia. Angel Reese, 13 points, 10 boards. Kennedy Carter scored 34 in the Sky's 93-85 win in Vegas. Asia Wilson, 28 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocks in defeat. And the Houston Texans are the first team to have its entire roster in training camp as of today. Guys, back to you.
By the way,
50 days until the season, according to Kaplan.
We could take a break. I have some interesting fictional characters that are hitting our social medias. Some of these baseball movies I do not know so well, but I think we did miss some people.
Okay, the great debate today, the greatest fictional baseball player of all time, 855-212-4227. You're welcome to weigh in. Also, before this show is over, we will get Pete's Mount Rushmore of Tom Hanks movies.
Yes.
Presented without comment. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining.
World, it's always a Tom Hanks scene. From Big to Castaway, he's the fan club dean. In his living room, it's a movie marathon with Tom
30
on the
seconds
screen
remaining.
from dusk till dawn. Oh, Peter Boy loves Tom Hanks. It's a serious thing. From Forrest Gump to Sully, he makes his heart sing. Quotes every line, knows every part. Tom Hanks isn't just an actor, he's a piece of his heart.
Break
Whether
ends
it's Woody
in 5
or
seconds.
Captain Phillips at the helm, Peter Bellotti's collection's overwhelming. A cinematic realm, saving Private Ryan or Dick.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Brock. All right, Carl, you wanted to read some responses to our great debate today, which is who is the greatest fictional baseball player of all time?
So there is this guy from a 1987 HBO movie called Long Gone named Stud Cantrell who got a big vote saying he was the number one. Did we mention, I think we mentioned him, but Ham Porter from Sandlot. He's getting multiple votes, but I think people are missing the point here. Is he the greatest character in any baseball movie? That might be a good argument.
The great Hambino, who has been a guest on this show before. Just a little name
I
drop
totally
there.
forgot he was on the show.
He was on the show. But, I mean, I think you got to go with Benny the Jet Rodriguez. He's the one who actually made it to the major league.
You do, but it is fun to shout out Ham. Also, I think we did not give Nuke LaLoosh enough credit because he was a legit first-round talent.
Yep.
Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn, your choice, he was kind of, he was a character case. I think he would have fallen in any draft.
I mean, he closed out the game that gave Cleveland the pennant.
Yeah, but now that Nuke is not throwing the ball into the mascot, I mean, now that Kevin Costner has taught him how to play the game, I think he's going to be on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Then there's a lot of people.
A lot of Dottie Henson I'm seeing.
I got 2 Dottie Hensons, some Crash Davises. There was a lot of a lot of that movie with the kid in the arm. Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year. That's obviously was Ryan's pick.
Yeah, I is that big of a movie? Did I miss out on Rookie of the Year? I have to watch that. Is that my assignment?
So I like what South Slope sent us on X. Sid Finch. You and I should have come up with that. That was
not a movie character. Though.
Not a movie character. We just said fictional, though. We did not necessarily say movie.
Right.
Then you could go Pablo Sanchez from Backyard Baseball video game.
Could have done that too. Who was he supposed to be?
No idea.
Okay. Oh, it's just amalgamation of everyone.
Sid Finch, the famous Sports Illustrated prank article, they had to have a helicopter drop a ball from half a mile up into the catcher's mitt to recreate the velocity Sid Finch threw it. That's a line I will always remember.
One of the great details of the prank article. This is another one from X. I didn't realize there was something called Air Bud 7th Inning Fetch. And I see.
Well, we're probably watching it at some point in the Blotti household.
Yeah, I imagine. There you go. You can keep them coming. We will also get, before the show is over, Pete's Mount Rushmore, Tom Hanks movies presented without comment. Perloff, we were breaking down the NFC East. We did a terrible job today because we got so sidetracked. But let's get a quick moment in for the Dallas Cowboys. The take you have on Dallas' season is what?
Their offense is going backwards, Maggie. They were number 1 scoring offense and I think top 5 in yards. So I don't understand, how can you trust that running game? Because Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle, my guy Deuce Vaughn, that is not a strong running back room to start with. And then there are all these changes at the line. Their line has been falling slowly in the Pro Football Focus rankings, for what that's worth, the company that sort of ranks every play.
Sure.
And they are way down on the list. They're number 8 projected this year line. Usually they're 1, 2, or 3. Obviously, they've had a lot of turnover. They got old. So I think that if you expect Dak Prescott to have that MVP year, I don't think he's going to be able to do it because I don't think the line is as good. I don't think he's a running game to rely on. And they never got that other target to help CeeDee Lamb. I know they have Brandon Cooks, but they really, at the end of the day, have just CeeDee Lamb. So I think they take a small step back offensively.
Then if you were wearing some kind of tinfoil hat, you might say, wow, did the Cowboys not give Dak Prescott a lot of weapons so that he wouldn't have a great season and therefore not go into a contract negotiation on a high note? That's what some people might say. Here's my take on the Dallas Cowboys. You might be right by that. Their offense could take a step back, but it is Mike McCarthy who's still going to be calling the plays. He did a really good job last year. It was an offense that hummed. I mean, they really maybe got a little inflated because they laid it on super thick on teams against the Giants and Jets and stuff like that and really blew them out. So maybe the numbers got a little inflated, but I still think the offense is going to be fine. My take on the Dallas Cowboys is you guys are going to miss Dak Prescott when he's gone. I think you are. I've been consistent on this. This whole grass is always greener. If you were grooming someone behind him and this was an Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love situation, or you had, maybe Trey Lance is that guy, but I don't know. We'll find out in training camp if he gets any meaningful snaps. I think Dak is not somebody you turn your back on. I get there's fatigue. I get you haven't won enough in the playoffs with Prescott, but life without him could be sobering.
Yeah, first of all, Dak Prescott's going to be the Cowboys quarterback till we're all dead. So Jerry's going to wait till he gets to really, really, really expensive, then pay him. But you say that. If we fast forward and they make the wild card game and lose, I want to hear that same energy on January 16th when the Cowboys blow a 9-point lead against the Bucs in the wild card round. Then we'll talk.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think they would be more likely to move on from McCarthy. 855-212-4227. Should we quickly do a little bit more of the NFC East?
Yeah.
Since we sort of left this one for the very end. If you want do you want to go Washington first or Giants?
I mean, since I'm a Washington Commanders super fan.
Go ahead.
They are going to be awesome. I mean, how can Jaden Daniels, I'm betting on him to win Rookie of the Year over Caleb Williams. The odds are better. I think he's third now behind Marvin Harrison. How can you not see those Instagram videos of him dropping dimes and not be excited?
My take on Washington was that they are going to be battling for a playoff spot right up until Week 18. I think that they're going to be like the fringe in the hunt team that's just constantly hanging around in the hunt.
Oh, my God. I thought I was in the Commanders. There's no way I'm going that far. You're the Commanders super fan. In the hunt for the playoffs?
There you go. In the hunt.
Now we're getting ridiculous. That's a good one because I love the Commanders. I'm like, yes, here we go. Let's get 7 wins. In the hunt for the playoffs. Okay.
In the hunt. And then as far as the Giants, I think the big storyline with the New York Giants this year is going to be Belichick lurking. And not that I think it's a smart idea to move on from Brian Dable, and I think he's actually he hasn't been bad. I think Belichick is going to be lurking here. I think the Hard Knock show for people inside football has not been awesome for them. It makes them look maybe a little directionless. And I think that's going to be an issue, and Belichick's going to hover over the season for the New York Giants. Okay, Pete, let's reveal it. Your Mount Rushmore of Tom Hanks movies.
Big, League of Their Own, Green Mile, Forrest Gump.
Pretty damn good list.
Philadelphia didn't make the cut?
Not on mine. I think it makes the overall.
Splash?
His real, not mine, not my personal one, would be a Philadelphia and Saving Private Ryan with Toy Story and Forrest Gump.
Ryan Botcher, thank you. Pete Pilati, thank you. Andrew Kaplan, Andrew Bogusch, Weedos, Coffee Drinkers, our new friends who are following us on X. We appreciate you.